Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Mac Watson. Governor Mark Gordon on Wednesday said anticipated budget shortages precipitated by a 25% property tax cut are one of several critical issues county and local officials must confront during the coming budget session. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports the governor made the remarks while addressing the 2025 Wyoming Association of County Officers meetings in Rock Springs, a gathering of county officials from across the state.
I spoke to some commissioners who were saying that they're concerned this is going to begin impacting local services such as emergency ambulances, such as trash pickup. And they were really worried that without finding some other source of funding, that this was going to continue to impact them in a really serious way. I spoke to one commissioner from Hot Springs County, Tom Ryan, the chairman, who told me that he was concerned that all of these cuts are going to make his county more dependent on state dollars rather than these local dollars.
The governor did acknowledge having flown into town through a thick fog that morning. He likened it to the coming budget concerns facing Wyoming's elected officials. In 2021, when YouTube announced it was censoring anti-vaccine content, Scott Clem had a vague sense of a brewing conspiracy and that something wasn't right. What the former Wyoming representative said on Facebook at the time was that YouTube's new policy was, quote, the end of free speech. According to the information available at the time, he was wrong. But on Tuesday, Alphabet, the company overseeing YouTube and Google, took accountability for caving to government pressure. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland spoke to Clem about his hunch.
Back in 2021, Scott Clem, a former Wyoming state representative, posted that YouTube's new COVID and election censorship policies were the end of free speech. And Cowboy State Daily, we were quick to correct him, like, no, private platforms can do what they want. I circled back to Scott Clem on Wednesday, like, okay, so you intuited that this was a free speech issue when we were around to critique you. What do you have to say today? And he said, yeah, I kind of thought the government was behind it all along.
Clem told Cowboy State Daily people should still be vigilant to defend their freedom of speech, no matter which party is in power. A nuclear fuel manufacturing company explained Wednesday why it required non-disclosure agreements with Gillette City officials before discussing a proposed facility that would bring more than 200 jobs to Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the public is concerned about the secrecy surrounding the discussions between the company and the city.
BWXT wants to clear the air around that. They're having a public hearing on Tuesday next week, and they want to introduce themselves to the town and really explain their ambitions. They want to build TRISO fuel, and TRISO fuel could be the fuel of the future if you really believe in small nuclear reactors and micro reactors. And so the public, if they have questions, here's a chance for them to be answered.
Joshua Parker, Director of Business Development for BWXT Advanced Technologies, said the company needed confidentiality agreements to protect commercially sensitive information about the size and scope of its proposed TRISO fuel fabrication facility. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Hey, Cowboy fans! Cowboy football single game tickets are on sale now. We can't wait to see you in War Memorial Stadium on Saturdays this fall. Whether it's being a part of the Gold Out against Northern Iowa, Homecoming against UNLV, the Border War versus CSU, or other great matchups, let's pack the war. Get your tickets today at GoWyo.com or call 307-766-7220. Go Pokes!
Track inspectors are just one of the many cogs in the safety wheel that keeps railway cars moving across the tracks across Wyoming. But former legislator and retired railroad worker Stan Blake says continued rail layoffs coupled with more automation will mean more train accidents in Wyoming. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean spoke with Blake, who said he's concerned about automated systems.
The American Association of Railroads says that these automatic track inspectors can do the job and do the job better than people. But a lot of the union reps and the retired railroad worker I talked to, Stan Blake, said that's actually not the case.
The Association of American Railroads has asked to waive more than 80 railroad safety regulations, all at a time when the industry has dramatically reduced workforce levels by more than 30%. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
Analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
It's a Thursday edition of the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Governor Mark Gordon talking about critical budget shortages. He's currently working on budgeting, trying to craft the state budget. Should be ready by November. We'll talk to the governor today and ask, real simple, how do you do it? How do you make a budget? No families anymore. No American families can make budget. Nobody makes budgets. But Wyoming, one of the few governments, state governments that balance its budget. That's unique. We'll ask the governor later today, how do you make a budget? Among other things, former state lawmaker Scott Clem said, I told you so. He said back during COVID that big government was pressuring social media to get in line with the government rhetoric regarding the pandemic, putting pressure on YouTube and Facebook to say the right things, basically censorship. The end of free speech, former state lawmaker Scott Clem called it. And now, turns out, he said that back then and was shouted down like a lot of us when we dared challenge anything regarding COVID. Now we find out, yeah, it was true during the Biden administration. There was pressure from D.C. on Facebook, on YouTube, on socials, to toe the line, to promote COVID as this, or to reflect voting issues as this. And were sometimes called and cussed at when they didn't comply. Interesting. BWXT, that's that nuclear outfit that's trying to get into Gillette, has been somewhat secretive. And you heard Gillette officials say, hey, we signed an NDA. We can't really tell you much about this project. And the Gillette people want to know, well, what is BWXT Advanced Technologies? What are they doing? What are they proposing? What do they need? And there wasn't a lot that government officials in Gillette could tell people, and it sounded suspicious. But now BWXT has come forward. Josh Parker, director of business development for that outfit, has said there's reasons why we have to keep certain things on the low. And he explained, and we'll take a look at that. Rock Springs man accused of stabbing his landlord's eye right out of his head with pliers. He's just living the dream, right? He's just carrying out the dream some of us renters have about our landlords. If only we could pluck out their eyes with a pair of pliers. Robert Downham faces 1 count of aggravated assault. This happened 2 years ago. Why has it been held up for so long? There's concerns Downham might be nuts. Jackson photographer gets a once-in-a-lifetime shot of a bull elk. We'll share. NTSB has been kind of mum on what caused the explosion, the spectacular natural gas line breach Sunday. Still don't know a lot. Might take 30 days or more to figure out what caused it, or at least to get information from the NTSB. Railroad layoffs, Green River Railroad layoff concern one former retired railroad man, Stan Blake. He said this is concerning. 30% cuts to labor replaced by AI. And yes, Stan said there's some things that people can do that machines can't when it comes to track inspections, let's say. And he's concerned that safety is going to be put at risk with the layoffs, with the job cuts. We had CJ Box, New York Times bestselling author, on yesterday. He dropped the bombshell that we kind of noted during the show, that Cassie Duell, a feature member of one of his book series, maybe a little lesser known than the Joe Pickett series, Cassie Duell, an investigator, a crime solver in her own right, is going to make an appearance in the latest Joe Pickett novel due out in February. That'll be the 26th Joe Pickett series book from CJ Box. And the first time that those two characters from CJ Box have intermingled in the same piece of work. That'll be interesting. Colorado wolf debate heats up over claims diseased animals were released. Will it never end? When wolves were reintroduced in Yellowstone in the late 90s, there was objections that these weren't the wolves that used to be here. These were big Canadian wolves. They weren't our Wyoming wolves at all. Now Colorado, some folks in Colorado are saying the wolves released down there were all diseased and sick. CPW says otherwise. These stories and more we'll be checking out today. A lot of special guests on the show as well. It's going to be an exciting Thursday. Here's an updated weather forecast. The Don Day weather forecast looks like this across the state. Pretty nice day. Bulletproof, actually. I don't know if there's going to be a drop of rain anywhere. Casper, sunny 79. Riverton, sunny 82 today. In Evanston, plenty of sunshine. Highs 74, 76 and sunny in Green River. Pinedale, 72. Alpine, 80 under sunshine. In the Bighorn Basin, you guessed it, sunny and beautiful. 82 in Thermopolis, 81 in Cody, 82 in Powell. Buffalo, sunny, highs near 81, sunny 86 in Sheridan. Gillette, sunny and 83. Newcastle, 81 in sunshine. Torrington, 82. Lusk, 77. Cheyenne, 76. Laramie. Come on, Laramie. 69 the high. Get to 70 already, Laramie, and make it a clean sweep of 70s and 80s. Rawlins, sunshine 71. Yeah, just sunny 70s, if not low 80s. And that is about perfect for the last week of September, isn't it? We just crossed into officially fall. When did that happen? Because it feels like still summer, although you can tell, the colors are starting to change in the forest, and the mornings remain cold for longer. And when that sun starts to go down, not even disappeared yet, just starts to go down, it really starts cooling off. So when we say a high temperature, when Don Day says today's high is such and such, that's a high experienced at about 3:30-ish. In fact, we'll ask Don when the expected high. When in the day is the high reached? This time of year, the high, similar to regular old summer day, like mid-July, the high would be attained at 3:34-ish, is my guess, and would remain up until 6. That temperature would stay from 3 to 6:30, let's say, in mid-July. Temperatures would sit at that high level and not move. But this time of year, late September, the high is achieved a little bit later and for a fleeting moment. At 3:45, today's high in Casper will be 81. But by 5 o'clock this afternoon, it'll be on the decline, I would guess. We'll ask Don if there is a difference. At what time of day do we hit the high on average? And how long are we there, remain there in late September as compared to, maybe peak summer? Don will, he'll be ready for that. He's always ready for any kind of weather-related question. He's right on it. We have Ask Abby today, and we're actually going to do a variation of Ask Abby called Dear Abby. Abby, Abigail Van Buren, who's for a long time, there was Ann Landers, who did her advice column, and then there was Dear Abby. Probably the more popular of the two. So we're going to pose some Dear Abby questions to Ask Abby today, Abby Royce, and that'll be fun to see if she delivers good advice. I don't know if there'll be a right or wrong buzzer check on her today, but we'll see what kind of advice she gives compared to the actual Dear Abby. These will be actual Dear Abby questions asked through the decades from 1991 to as recent as last year. And we'll see how our Abby stacks up against Dear Abby, the classic. Should be interesting. We'll also ask Abby if she knows what 6'7" means. Apparently nobody does. Yeah, today's Gen Alpha, their battle cry is driving parents crazy, teachers crazy. Kids say 6'7" all the time. Have you heard that yet? Maybe it hasn't got to Wyoming. Wyoming's a little behind the trend in the slang trends setting. But Gen Alpha kids today respond 6'7" to almost any question. And it's done in a sing-song way. I wish I had an example of a kid doing it. I don't think I do. It's certainly, I don't have an example that's not copyright protected. There is some belief it comes from a Skrilla song called Doot Doot. But it's still shrouded in mystery, and kids themselves probably don't know why they're saying it either. And it's usually pertains to, 6 half dozen. It usually means the response 6'7" usually means defined as, I can take it or leave it, 50-50. And how did it come into being is almost impossible to figure out, but it's just interesting to note that so many kids are doing it that parents and teachers are becoming really annoyed. It's even banned in some East Coast, like big elementary schools with 6, 7. Let's just establish that right up front. So we'll ask dear Abby. We'll ask Abby. Let's see if she answers any questions, maybe with 6, 7. We'll dig into the stories of the day. I want to talk about Governor Gordon. He just popped into Rock Springs. You know, when we today, so the new sweeping up. See comments during the Wyoming Association of County Officers meeting there in Rock Springs the other day, and he talked a lot about the budget, referenced property tax cuts, 25% property tax cuts. That was in Senate File 69. And that's going to mean that communities across the board, towns, municipalities, counties, are going to have to tighten the belt big time when they see reduced revenues. Going to make really tough cuts. Mark Gordon, who has had his run-ins with the Freedom Caucus and still says, you know, they probably have an agenda, but he did agree with the Freedom Caucus that Wyoming probably could benefit from a slimmer government, he said. And yeah, it's going to get slimmer as belt tightening is in order this time around. The governor's working on the budget right now, and we'll talk to Governor Gordon about how he does that. How many pencils he goes through, how many times he has to sharpen, and how many erasers. It's got to be tough. Crafting a 2-year budget that should be ready. And we'll tell you about the whole process, what you do when you're done with the budget, who you hand it off to, and how it becomes the budget. We'll do all things State Budget 101 later in the show when we talk to Governor Gordon. Right now, it's time for our first break on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in DuBois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Hi. I'm your retirement fear, but don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. Here, this is pretirement.org.
Retirement savings options? Potential tax breaks.
Move.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
You got this.
Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane. Woo! You got this.
So as a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I can't say that I have. I mean,
If you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Just taking an early morning look at how stories are playing out with Cowboy State Daily readers. No one story really stands out as the most responded to. All seem to be generating similar interest. Maybe the most is the photograph Savannah Rose got of that bull elk. Beautiful shot. Isn't that always the way? You could craft a Pulitzer Prize winning article. You could research it for years and craft it perfectly, wordsmith it to death, and the story will be read by less people than one with a great photograph. And Savannah Rose got a great photograph. She called it an incredibly tense moment of excitement. She was watching a bull elk. She's a professional photographer, by the way, wildlife photographer. And this is what she does. And you can tell from the photo, like, this isn't an amateur getting a lucky shot. Although Savannah will say, yeah, sometimes right place, right time. But more often than not, Savannah Rose says you got to put in the time, hours, if not days, of stalking certain wildlife to get that perfect shot. And she recalled spending 13, 14 hours once waiting for a certain animal to do a certain thing. Yeah, that's commitment. But as far as the Jackson, she's a Jackson-based photographer, Savannah Rose. As far as this iconic shot, she said already this is going to go to the top of the list of her portfolio. She's got lots of once-in-a-lifetime photographs, but this one may go right to the top of the pack. She was in Grand Teton National Park recently. She set out intentionally to get elk, and this is a good time of year to do it. Bull elk in rut, or were in rut in late August. They may still be now, but they're active, let's say that. And hunting season getting underway, so that has elk moving around. Colder mornings and colder nights has elk moving around. So it's a good time to be looking for that photograph of a bull elk. And she was waiting, and she saw this bull elk, and she saw it walking up a rise, which would put it, if it reached the peak, if it reached where it was going, the top of this little rise. And I think I may know where she got this photo, actually. I think I know exactly where she was. Because you can sometimes, if I'm right, you can sometimes catch a bison up on this hump, this rise, which puts you from the roadside, and I won't give it away where, but it puts you right there on line with the animal in your frame and the Grand Teton, with the Grand in the background. And that's what we get with his photo. Fantastic shot, Savannah. I think I know where she was, but she saw the bull elk That's the first achievement, to just even spot like a massive, really nice bull elk like this. And then she's hoping, she's got her camera. She's like, oh, please walk up, keep walking forward until you get to that spot where you're right in front of the grand. And she was just hoping the elk did. And as the elk took steps towards that spot, she got more and more nervous. She's like, oh, you can't blow it. She went through her mind all the things that had to happen. She's like, I got to have a slow shutter speed to let in the most light. I've got to make this adjustment. I got to have it framed just this way. And she said when the bull elk finally crested that hill, it sent her into a tizzy of excitement and mild panic. She said, when it happens, you can get a little overstimulated mentally. You can get shaky. You can get dumb. You can get too excited. And that's when you have to focus on exactly what you want. The words of Savannah Rose. Well, she got it just right. And she made the right camera settings, and she got just the right photo. Now, don't even start to say that anything was photoshopped or AI'd. Savannah's not that kind of photographer, and she released this photo on socials with the headline, not automated. I think, what did she say? It was something like not photoshopped or what? Oh, she said the image, no AI or Photoshop composite. Yeah, great photograph. And then some people that know her on the interwebs commented. Wendy said, for instance, Savannah wouldn't do AI. She has a lot of pride in what she does. So don't even start that discussion. 291 impressions on the Facebooks, 31 comments, 26 shares. A lot of people want to share the photo and share the story of Jackson wildlife photographer Savannah Rose getting that once-in-a-lifetime perfect shot. Yeah, she says she spent as much as 14 hours waiting and stalking animals to get that just right photograph. Andrew Rossi has the story about the Jackson photographer who gets a once-in-a-lifetime shot of the bull elk with the Grand Teton in the background. Claire McFarland's story about this Rock Springs man. Is it any surprise? Rock Springs. Robert Downham, accused of stabbing his elderly landlord's eye out of his head with a pair of pliers. This happened 2 winters ago. And he's finally set to stand trial upcoming in about 3 weeks. Boy, this thing is dragged on. Reason being, he's been looked over as to whether he's mentally fit to stand trial. Rock Springs man, accused of 2 winters ago, the landlord came over to check the pipes. Robert Downham's 58-year-old's response was to stab the landlord in the eyeball with a pair of pliers. Jury trial set to begin October 13th, Sweetwater County District Court. Downham faces 1 count of aggravated assault, punishable by up to 10 years in prison, $10,000 in fines. 2 years pending active prosecution. There were more than one hiatuses in the case to let professionals evaluate Downham's mental health. It's unclear what Downham's trial strategy will be at this point, because the mental illness plea apparently is off the table. They say he is fit for trial. Not too mentally ill to rationalize his conduct or conform it to law. He could still plead not guilty and likely will. His defense attorney is Rob Spence. Rob did not immediately respond to requests for clarification on Downham's latest plea in the upcoming trial, October 13th. This all went down on January 13th, 2024. Rocky interactions, poor relationship. Well, what's new between landlord and renter? Finally, landlord, there was a frying pan involved, pushing in the chest, and then finally picked up a pair of pliers and eyeball out of head. Just typical Rock Springs kind of stuff. David Madison's story. BWXT is got a nuclear fuel plant project that they want to get into Gillette. There was a Gillette Town Council, City Council meeting not too long ago, and the topic questions came up and very few answers were offered as to who BWXT was, what was the proposal. The mayor and others said, we've signed a non-disclosure, an NDA with the company, so we're not allowed to give too many answers. People thought that was sketch. Some people in Gillette, but the company has now come to the defense of Gillette city officials, saying there's sometimes not a lot of things we can say, and that's because of commercial propriety stuff, commercially sensitive information. Joshua Parker is the director of business development for BWXT Advanced Technologies. He said the company needs these confidentiality agreements in order to protect certain commercially sensitive info, particularly about the size and scope of the project. They propose a Triso fuel fabrication facility. And basically what Parker is saying is we have competitors. We do have competitors in this market, and we have to be a little careful of that. For instance, my competitors could actually figure out what size my facility is from answers to certain types of questions, Parker said. And that's the reason for all the secrecy. It's not cloak and dagger kind of stuff. It's not anything weird. It's just, when you're talking about new advanced braking technology, and Parker said nuclear technology is special, quote. And sometimes you got to be a little close to the vest when disclosing certain details about projects. And you don't want BWXT's competitors to find out too much. David Madison talked more about it, what's going on in Gillette, and why all the need for secrecy.
A nuclear fuel manufacturing company explained Wednesday why it required non-disclosure agreements with Gillette city officials before discussing a proposed facility that could bring more than 200 jobs to Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the public is concerned about the secrecy surrounding the discussions between the company and the city.
There's been a controversy in Gillette over whether or not the city and other officials were doing things behind closed doors that the public should know about when it comes to BWXT coming to Gillette. BWXT wants to clear the air around that. They're having a public hearing on Tuesday next week, and they want to introduce themselves to the town and really explain their ambitions. They want to build Triso fuel, and Triso fuel could be the fuel of the future if you really believe in small nuclear reactors and micro reactors. And so the public, if they have questions, here's a chance for them to be answered and to learn more about what could be an opportunity to bring as many as 200 high-paying jobs to Gillette.
Joshua Parker, Director of Business Development for BWXT Advanced Technologies, said the company needed confidentiality agreements to protect commercially sensitive information about the size and scope of its proposed Triso fuel fabrication facility.
Yeah, That makes sense to me. That checks out. Okay. Green River Railroad layoffs concern one ex-railroadman. A retired railroad worker, Stan Blake, said he's concerned. He's a former legislator, used to be a railroad guy. And Green River experienced a bunch of layoffs not long ago. And these layoffs were coupled with additional automation, more AI, people being replaced by machines and computers and technology. That concerns Stan Blake. He said, watch out with safety. He talked about certain things that only people can do, probably better than machines. Meanwhile, the folks making decisions about the layoffs are saying, no, the machines do these things better than people. For instance, Stan Blake talked about one derailment that happened in the recent past. This was due to what Stan Blake calls a sun kink. That's a warp in the track caused by heat of the sun beating down on the tracks. They can happen rather quickly, and it's hard for a train to slow down and miss them. He said, in the industry, we call them sun kinks. You might hear them referred to professionally by railroad people as a thermal misalignment, but we're talking about the same thing. The sun can actually cause the rails to warp a little bit. There are other things like pull aparts that can happen, especially in when weather gets hot and then gets cold. Some of the rails can pull up off the railroad ties. All these things are checked by track inspectors. Those are the guys who drive those trucks on the track. And the trucks have, instead of wheels, they have, those special wheels that drive on the train track. And that's what they're doing when they're out there. They're checking for all these things that could be wrong with the tracks. They're putting eyeballs on the rails, says Stan Blake. But recent job cuts, and Blake told the Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean that Green River, at the Green River station, they eliminated 17 carmen positions. And he said that's a significant portion of the job force. Blake was a switchman for the UP for 31 years, was also in charge of safety, and he said there are certain things that people can do that machines can't, and he's concerned when you lay off 30% of the workforce, for instance, that's going to really jeopardize safety. Meanwhile, the railroad representatives are saying that AI does the job better than people, and safety will not be a concern. That story is resonating with folks across the Cowboy State, according to Facebook response as I check out that story. We'll take a look at some more of the stories of the day right after this quick break. You're enjoying the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. We'll be right back.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
Wyoming is a big state. There are so many stories to tell, and here at Cowboy State Daily, we pride ourselves in bringing those stories to you every day. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the experienced journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily Video News every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill? No. You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
In today's digital world, it's hard to know who to trust. Your local TV and radio stations bring you the facts. Misinformation and deep fakes flood social media, but broadcasters deliver verified and accurate news. For news, emergency updates, sports, and entertainment, turn to your local stations. Text TV to 52886 and urge Congress to support the vital local journalism broadcasters provide.
Did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
So Jimmy Kimmel returned to his ABC late night talk show. Said a few things during his monologue. I don't have a lot of heartburn over what he said about that got him in trouble. What he said about Charlie Kirk. I didn't think it was that egregious. But it did crack the door open for President Trump to get his claws in on Kimmel, who, let's face it, Trump does not like Kimmel. President Trump probably doesn't like any of the late night talk show hosts because they're going to use the presidency, the White House, and anything Donald Trump does as fodder for their monologue. I mean, what president does that? There have been a few presidents who have actually appeared on these late night talk shows, but yeah, I don't think Trump likes any of them. And at this point, Kimmel is back on, said kind of the right things that he needed to say when addressing Charlie Kirk. He explained his reasoning on whether he was blaming MAGA for Charlie Kirk's death and explained that out sort of reasonably. But apparently it's not going to be enough for Trump, who has threatened lawsuit now. And if I'm Trump's advisor, and I'm assuming he has one, he probably has one every week, and then he fires them. If I'm Trump's advisor, I say, hey, President, get off the Jimmy Kimmel thing already. Because anything from here on is going to look like he's got a personal agenda against Kimmel. It's already kind of hinky with the whole FCC and coming down hard on ABC. The FCC versus ABC, that's already borderline big government control, censorship. That's scary stuff. Saying things, outrageous things, inflammatory things, false things. Just like democracy, just like the free market, eventually there won't be a platform for this person. This person, if this is truly someone who every time they open their mouth, it's something the American public doesn't like, they won't have a show anymore. These things will take care of themselves. But when we have one man in the White House who presumably instructs another man at the FCC to have the serious talk with ABC, then that gets really weird. And if I'm President Trump's advisor, I just say, get off the Jimmy Kimmel thing already. Kimmel has to answer to Mrs. Kirk, and that's it. And if she's okay with it, and the majority of the American public still wants to watch his show, then get your hands off it, government. Trump slams Kimmel's return. He said, we're going to test ABC out on this because the last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. I'm not sure what he's referencing. ABC fake news. Yes, he's threatening a lawsuit against ABC. And, I think we're kind of done with it. Just let Kimmel do his thing. If ratings cause his show to be canceled, perfect. But it shouldn't be canceled by the FCC and Donald Trump's personal hate of Jimmy Kimmel. That's government overreach, which the Republicans are every day saying that they are against. What else is going on in the Cowboy State Daily news cycle? Wind, super controversial. Nobody seems to like wind farm, wind energy projects. Certainly from Trump on down, maybe the only person still that might be a little pro-wind is Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon, who we're going to talk to in just a little bit. He told Cowboy State Daily he still maintains support for wind energy development, still thinks it has a place in the energy portfolio of Wyoming, even though Laramie County's recent rejection of a massive wind project there from Repsol got the red light, not the green light, from county commissioners. People, I think Trump and certain politicians' angst against wind is those early, there was such an early push to make it the new energy source. It went too hard too early, and it went with big government subsidies, and there was a notable agenda. There was a notable push behind wind to the point where even the most underinformed American can say, why are they pushing wind on us so hard? Right? These wind projects were heavily subsidized by government grants and incentives and all this stuff. So if wind works, let's see it stack up against oil, coal, gas, and everything else on its own. And we never got a fair assessment of wind. That push early on made people suspicious. That's one issue. The other issue is nobody wants to live next to them. Next to them being the windmills, the big turbines. Nobody wants them next door. Nobody wants to see them. That's sort of a close to home issue where, That's definitely a NIMBY thing. Nobody wants to be next to it. So there are a lot of reasons to be anti-wind. There's also not the existing infrastructure to harness that energy and then get it to someone. That's going to take a lot more capital investment. So many reasons to hate on wind. But despite those, Governor Gordon says he still thinks it has a place in Wyoming. After all, the wind blows in Wyoming like no other. As Andrew Rossi pointed out over the weekend, the wind blows in Wyoming because Nebraska sucks and Utah blows. Something like that. There was actually science behind it. Don Day actually got behind that notion a little bit and said, yeah, that's kind of the reason. Wyoming's in a bit of a wind tunnel. So we got wind. Why not make use of it? Many reasons to be against it. President Trump, vocal opponent of wind turbines for sure. Echoed by Secretary of State Chuck Gray, who does get to vote on certain things when the land board, when it comes before the land board. He's one of 5 state voices on the issue. So, yeah, who is still for wind? Repsol was rebuked. That's the Spanish energy giant behind the last project that in the Horse Creek area that was going to bring as many as 170 wind turbines. The 56,000-acre project shot down by commissioners. Close vote, I think. It was a 4-1 vote. Only Troy Thompson voted in favor. Repsol doesn't say much in the defeat other than to acknowledge that they had several local ranchers on whose land this was going to be built, these turbines, who were in support of the project. Obviously, it would pay them financially in some way, so that they had people on the land, ranchers that were very pro on this. But for the most part, the people in the county, not pro. Laramie County, not down with it. And neither were the Laramie County commissioners. That story in the Cowboy State Daily written by Jackson Walker, right? Yeah, Jackson had that, getting a little into the energy sector. And the wolf debate, Mark Hines says those wolves, some of those wolves released in Colorado were all diseased. Maybe. Wildlife officials say, yeah, some of them had parasites and whatnot, but they were all treated. The Colorado Department of Parks and Wildlife, CPW, says the hydatid disease was already present in Colorado. It was not brought by the wolves that were released. These wolves came from Oregon, some of the other wolves from British Columbia. All the wolves were treated, says CPW, for hydatid and other diseases before they were released. So, yeah, don't blame disease, parasites, and other stuff on the release of the wolves from Colorado. It was already in Colorado, say the officials, and they deloused all the wolves before they set them loose. That story from Mark Hines of the Cowboy State Daily. But that'll do it for the first hour here on a Thursday, September 25. It's 9/25/25, if you're doing the date thing. And we will be back after we take this top of the hour news break for our radio affiliates. Stick around. We got a lot going on, including a chat with the governor of Wyoming next on the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Mac Watson. On Wednesday, Governor Mark Gordon told Cowboy State Daily that he remains a proponent of wind energy developments in Wyoming, but recognizes constituent concerns. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports that the governor explained the issue is like walking a political tightrope as he and other government leaders try to balance the state's energy needs with residents' desire to keep Wyoming the way it is.
While the governor said that he's in favor of energy developments here in Wyoming, he recognizes pushback from locals on issues such as wind developments that can sometimes become an eyesore. However, he argued that some of these local jurisdictions don't have many other ways to make money on their own other than leasing some of their land to these wind developments.
The Trump administration has been a vocal opponent of wind turbines, while in Wyoming, a wind farm project voted down in Laramie County earlier this month continues to stir debate. Colorado's ongoing wolf reintroduction program is facing new wrinkles, with lingering accusations that wolves from the state of Oregon infected with a parasitic disease were released into the state. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that the Colorado Department of Parks and Wildlife claims that hydatid disease was already present in Colorado.
I saw the documents from a forensic veterinary lab in Kansas that tested some stool samples from some wolves that came from Oregon and were reintroduced into Colorado. They tested positive for hydatid disease. Part of the protocol of the wolf reintroduction program is when they bring these animals in, they are supposed to put them through a series of treatments and either treat them or vaccinate them.
Wolves brought in from Oregon and later British Columbia were treated for that and a number of other diseases before being released. A nuclear fuel manufacturing company explained Wednesday why it required non-disclosure agreements with Gillette City officials before discussing a proposed facility that could bring more than 200 jobs to Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the public is concerned about the secrecy surrounding the discussions between the company and the city.
BWXT wants to clear the air around that. They're having a public hearing on Tuesday next week, and they want to introduce themselves to the town and really explain their ambitions. They want to build TRISO fuel, and TRISO fuel could be the fuel of the future if you really believe in small nuclear reactors and micro reactors. And so the public, if they have questions, here's a chance for them to be answered.
Joshua Parker, Director of Business Development for BWXT Advanced Technologies, says the company needed confidentiality agreements to protect commercially sensitive information about the size and scope of its proposed TRISO fuel fabrication facility. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Hey, Cowboy fans! Cowboy football single game tickets are on sale now. We can't wait to see you in War Memorial Stadium on Saturdays this fall. Whether it's being a part of the Gold Out against Northern Iowa, Homecoming against UNLV, the Border War versus CSU, or other great matchups, let's pack the war. Get your tickets today at GoWyo.com or call 307-766-7220. Go Pokes!
Jackson photographer Savannah Rose already has a portfolio filled with once-in-a-lifetime shots of Wyoming's wildlife, but an image she captured this week has already drawn the admiration and envy of wildlife photographers worldwide. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke with Rose about getting that perfect shot.
Her goal was to find elk, and she found elk in Grand Teton. She saw this bull acting up, so she got herself in position, hoping to get the shot that she wanted. And as it happened, the elk rose to the crest of the hill where she wanted him to be. She threw herself on the ground to get the angle she wanted. She adjusted her camera settings very quickly, knowing she had seconds to get the shot. She aimed up, had the Grand Teton framed in his antlers perfectly, and got the shot while she was on the ground. And that's the dedication it takes if you want to be a top-tier wildlife photographer.
Rose has worked as a professional wildlife photographer since moving to Jackson 10 years ago. And popular Wyoming author C.J. Box dropped a bombshell on Wednesday's Cowboy State Daily morning show with Jake Nichols when he announced that Cassie Duell and Joe Pickett are going to cross paths. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson says fans are going crazy.
It's like the Marvel Universe. His two big popular series are going to have some kind of a crossover. You just don't know. But if you're a fan of CJ Box and you've read his two series, it's a big deal.
Box did not disclose what kind of story the two characters will be in. And that's a look at today's headlines. You can get the full stories always at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
There's a lot of need in the world, and if you're like me, it can seem too big to make a difference.
But that's why I decided to start volunteering with Mercy Ships. Dedicating a few weeks or months of my life every year in the service of others has brought me more than I could ever imagine. Plus, I'm getting to meet people from all around the world and make lifelong friends. Hey, Michelle. And with so much to do here, there's an opportunity for everyone to make a difference.
High five.
But the best reason to volunteer is knowing that no matter what you do, you're helping change people's lives every day. Whether it's for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, when you volunteer with Mercy Ships, you'll find your purpose, your people, and your place in this world. And all you gotta do is visit mercyships.org today. I hope to
Cowboy State Daily Show here on a Thursday, and this is the governor of the great state of Wyoming, Mark Gordon. How are you this morning, Governor?
I'm doing well. And you?
I'm fine. I wanted to know what you thought of. I heard you just flew into Rock Springs. We'll tell people why you were there, what you were doing. What did you think of the new airport? Like, they fixed it all up. It had a big updo at Rock Springs. Was it nice?
Yeah, no, it was. They have a new terminal.
Yeah.
As I told the county officers yesterday, one of the great things is that you can pick your bags up inside the building now.
That's nice. That's always an advantage. Oh, Governor froze on us. Must be the Rock Springs internet that he's working. Or maybe he's working from Air Force One or whatever they call the governorship. Governor, you froze up. Hopefully we get you back. We do want to talk budget with Governor Gordon. Hold on, maybe I'll make sure it's not on my end. Now I'm rocking the Elon Musk Starlink. Elon's best Starlink thing. Yeah, the governor fell off. Darn it. I'm sure he'll hook back up. We got to ask him about the budget for sure. How do you craft a stay budget? The governor is working on that right now. And then we're going to ask about the GMO. You probably don't know what that is by the acronym, but I'll disclose it's the Grants Management Office, and upcoming webinar concerning that. All right, I think we're back.
Marvels of modern technology, or government censors, who knows?
Or it could be budget cuts, and we're going to talk about budget. I hope not. First, I want you to give people a heads up, explain what is this upcoming webinar hosted by Grants Management Office. You better heads up, listen up. If you've been impacted by wildfires, that includes homeowners, landowners, business owners, this is for you.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Jake. Before we jump into that, I wanted to take a moment and let listeners know that Ezra Sadek, who is the young Army man, 21 years old, died sadly a couple of weeks ago, or I guess a week ago, in Georgia. He was returned yesterday. It was really an honor to be able to greet him at the border. The legacy riders were there. We had troopers from Colorado, troopers from Wyoming, sheriff's office. They went up to Casper. It's nice to know he's home. I just, wish the best for his family. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, anyway, wildfire recovery. We have this thing we call the Grants Management Office, and it has put together a tremendous amount of resources, and it's particularly important now because of all the changes in the last several months for what grants are available, what aren't, whether you're a disaster area or where you're not. This is a place that landowners, homeowners, small business owners, others can go and find out what the funding sources that are available that can help mitigate impacts from wildfire events, find funding opportunities to rebuild some of the infrastructure. These are all sorts of resources, and it's incredibly important. For example, that house draw fire a year ago grew up with a tremendous amount of cheatgrass. That's a fire hazard this year. In fact, we did have a pretty substantial fire in that old burn scar, which is one of the things we're concerned about. And so being able to go to that site, which is sbd.wyo.gov/grants. That's SBD, State Budget Department .wyo.gov/grants. But a number of agencies work together with our grants management office, the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security, State Forestry Division, the Wyoming Natural Resource Trust, the Department of Agriculture, and a bunch of others have come together to put together a 90-minute webinar that'll be coming up on October 8th. And again, it'll be on that course will be available on that same website. And I hope you can put that up or make sure it's there. But it will talk about not only funding opportunities, but also the things that people can do to kind of recover after the fire this year. It was amazing to me. There were a number of programs that were delayed, pulled back, but with our grants management office sort of being Johnny on the spot, they were able to find ways to be able to get other resources in and make them available to landowners and others that want to do that need to do what they can to be able to mitigate against some of these fires.
We'll make sure we get that clickable link up on the website somewhere on Cowboy State Daily. It's sbd.wyo.gov/grants. 90-minute webinar. Registration is free. Get registered. It's coming up on October 8th. Wildfires threw a kink in the budget during the supplemental budget that you were talking about last year. You're working now on the 2-year budget coming up. Give me an idea of the process. That's got to be tough. You got to go through a lot of pencils, I would imagine, a lot of pencil sharpening. You got to talk to state agencies, Wyoming Game and Fish. How much do you guys need? WYDOT? What's your budget? And then you got to craft a budget, and you got to have it done here pretty soon, right? November, and you hand it over to the Joint Appropriations Committee. Give us a little insight on what it's like to craft a budget, because Wyoming does that. Unlike some other states, we actually balance it. And the governor has froze up again. The budget allotment toward internet it needs to be increased. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. We'll let the governor jump back on. I don't know what might be going on his end. Maybe it's internet security. Maybe Cowboy State Daily morning show has been identified as a bad actor, and we're getting kicked off by his own security. I doubt it. I hope not. But yeah, budget talks. Don Day's going to be coming up here in a moment with weather. Don Day's internet robust, and the weather forecast fantastic. I mean, you can't beat this. Later today, Ernie Marsh, the award-winning silversmith, will be popping in on the show. That should be pretty cool discussion. Ernie received a distinction that they don't just hand out to anybody. One of only 5 artists from the state of Wyoming to get the National Heritage Fellowship Award. That happened earlier this week, and we'll talk to Ernie as he'll chime in. Can't wait to speak to him. He is pretty good at what he does. All right. Let's try this again. Governor Gordon, we're talking Budget 101. How do you do it?
Yeah, Jake, thank you. I hope we don't have any interruptions. The process starts really early in the spring. Each department comes together with their agency folks, and they put together what the budget is. Then there's sort of two parts of it. There's a standard budget, which is the things that we do from year to year. This is not quite the same as zero-based budgeting, but pretty similar. Is this absolutely essential? Are there ways we can cut it? Are there ways that we can be more efficient? And then they put in there what they call their exception items, which are new challenges, anything from inflation to new equipment, that kind of thing. And they put that in what they call the straw man. I get a quick look at the straw man, and for instance, this year, I said we're not gonna go do any of these things. And can you hear me still? Oh, you can. That's good.
I still hear. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about this.
It's no problem.
But in any event, then after we do that, then I have budget hearings with each of the departments. I've been doing this for the last several days. The biggest departments we save kind of for a time when there's a lot of opportunity to really discuss them. So health department, corrections, family services, these are some of the very biggest one, workforce services. And we'll walk through step by step. Those all go into my suggested budget. I can't really set the spending for the state. That's the legislature. The legislature is the appropriator. So we'll present that material to the Joint Appropriations Committee, and they will then start discussing. That'll present my budget in mid-November as a recommended budget, and then they'll go ahead and I'll have the hearing with the Joint Appropriations Committee to discuss it beginning around the 1st of December, and then that'll carry through till budget session.
Hey, as a former state treasurer, does that background help you here? Or would you recommend that all governors should be have a state treasurer in the background?
Yeah, I would say it's a good discipline to have, in the sense that Wyoming has done so well. So much of our wealth has come from the mineral sector, and we were wise enough to understand that's incredibly volatile. There are years that you don't have much income. And so we started socking some of that away. And in doing that, we actually made our portfolio one of the top 3 contributors to our revenue, which is why I think it's important to understand sort of market forces and what are the things that are happening. Wyoming's in a really good position sort of on a statewide level because we do have a balance between our mineral income, our income that we get from investments, and then just other things like tourism that also contribute to the sales tax.
Yesterday, we just mentioned you were in Rock Springs. One last thing, this sort of concerns budget. You were there for the Wyoming Association of County Officers meeting, and you're hearing, I'm sure, from across the state, municipalities, counties that are a little nervous about the 25% property tax cut. It is going to make things difficult. Some counties will be able to handle it better than smaller ones, maybe. But it is going to be belt tightening across the board. Nervous times, certainly. The Freedom Caucus was pushing that pretty hard. You agree with them at least that Wyoming probably always needs a slimmer government, should always take a look at the budget when it comes to how big government is. But what are you hearing? Are we going to be able to survive the property tax relief and what it's going to mean to certain municipalities and counties?
Well, yeah, it's a mixed bag. Let me say at the outset, I mean, I don't believe that people in Wyoming generally understand that property tax goes to the counties. That goes to the local government. So things like fire, things like county roads, things like snowplows and so on, also schools. Those are funded off of property tax, not the state taxes. And I feel very strongly that if you're going to take advantages of the services, then you should pay for them. That's a conservative outlook. You shouldn't have somebody else paying for it. And in fact, our Constitution's pretty clear on that point. I do think that we're going to see some counties that are really going to wrestle with what this property tax reduction is going to mean. But it's also important to remember that because Wyoming was open, and earlier in the week, in fact, Jake, I was up in your neck of the woods, and we were talking with the Secretary of Education about how much better Wyoming school kids did because we weren't closed, because we had kids in school, in classrooms during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people said, I want to move to Wyoming. And that, of course, raised the price of property, which raised the assessment. And so we tried to do a number of things to be able. One is we gave some property tax relief, just allowed people to take money off of their property tax. We had rebates that were available. Teton County did. There were a number of people in Teton County who had no property tax that they had to pay for because both the county and the state gave those rebates. You know, you go to some of the less well-off counties like Niobrara or Goshen, Johnson, some of these others, it's going to be tight. And there's quite a bit of discussion. Now, most of these counties, and this was some of my time as treasurer, I always insisted that we start having reserves, that we knew that we could have lean times. And I think some of these counties are going to have the reserves that are available there. But reserves, like anybody who's at their kitchen table, they know they have their savings. And once you start spending savings, you got to be worried about the day after tomorrow.
Well, that's Governor Mark Gordon, who's busy crafting and balancing a state budget, and that can't be easy. You have fun with that, Governor. I'm glad it's you and not me. And don't forget the Grants Management Office, GMO. If you're a landowner, homeowner, business owner, you might want to take part in this 90-minute webinar, sbd.wyo.gov/grants. We'll put the link up, and it's free for anybody.
Thanks for your patience today. I look forward to the next conversation. Hopefully we have a better connection. Thanks so much.
You bet. Have a great day. That's Governor Mark Gordon on the show this morning. Let's get right back into Zoom City, into Zoom World, and we'll check in with our meteorologist, Don Day. We'll get some weather forecasting done here. What was my question for Don? I packed it away. Oh, yeah. Don, I was wondering, here's my question of the day. This time of year, when you say a high temperature of whatever it is, today Jackson's high 75, what time of day usually do we hit that high? And in late September, do we tend to stay there for very long? It's a long time to get there. And then it's gone, where it's like, don't blink. That was the high, as opposed to if the high of the day in July might sit around there for a few hours. What are the differences on the calendar when you say today's high?
Well, this time of year, you could probably assume the high will be around 2 or 3 o'clock on a quote average day. Of course, there's days where you get your highs different times, but generally speaking, in that time frame in the summer, when we're in the June, July, and August, you're looking at your warmest time of the day, usually between 3 and 4 p.m. Usually is when you'll see those temperatures peak out. Now that the days are getting so much shorter and the nights are getting longer, your daytime high happens a little bit earlier in the day.
Okay, I wonder. I was saying, I was guessing 334-ish for a high for the most part. Maybe I'm thinking summer.
No, yeah, I mean, you're close. Yeah, I mean, in that mid to late afternoon. But as we get deeper into fall, as I'm sure you're noticing, that sun angle just keeps going down and down and down. And so the maximum heating is this time of year is going to be closer to around the noon hour. Then there's always a little bit of a lag in terms of you don't necessarily have the warmest time of the day at the peak of the sun angle, but an hour or two after that. That's why you'll see the high temperatures you get into the colder season happen earlier in the day.
Yeah, you've always mentioned the sun angle key. And yeah, it takes this time of year, it takes a long time to get to the high, and we seem to come off it pretty quick after that. As soon as the sun starts going down.
Oh yeah, boy, the evenings, last evening in particular, woo, it cooled off fast.
Yeah. It did, but another beautiful day, Don. Can't be arguing with this weather.
The next 3 days are unbeatable. Take advantage of it. The only hesitation I have on Sunday is Sunday's going to bring a few showers and thunderstorms to the far south and west, just a few. And there's also going to be more cloudiness on Sunday. Today, tomorrow, and Saturday, not many clouds, a lot of blue Wyoming skies, and it's like the Goldilocks temperatures, 70s and 40s. Yeah, there'll be some mid to upper 30s out there, but this is the time of year where, boy, is it pretty. And we're the last weekend of September, so a really good weekend to check out the fall colors.
Today's weather is a bowl of porridge you can't object to. You're going to gobble it up, man.
That is correct.
Thanks, Don.
Bye-bye.
Day weather forecast. Let's take a quick break. I'll get right back in here with our next guest. It's the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake.
The Seroptimists of Cody are inviting you to join them for their 17th annual Run for Hope, Saturday, October 4th. This 5K, 10K chip timed walk and run starts at the Rec Center at 9:30 a.m. with a kids race at 9. Proceeds support the Laney Cole Memorial Women's Cancer Fund. You can register for $35 in advance, $40 the day of the race. Discounted kids and student rates are available. You can register at Sunlight Sports in downtown Cody or online at runsignup.com. See you Saturday, October 4th for the Cody Seroptimist Run for Hope.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Nice.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer's fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Let's get back to it and into the discussion. W.G. Williams, we'll just call him Bill if that's okay with him. Bill, welcome to the show. Bill's got a, by the way, just to, to share the credentials, a BA, an MA in broadcasting and journalism from Texas Tech, so he knows his way around this kind of medium. He's also a gifted speaker if you want to hire him to speak at your event. We're going to talk about his book, 20 Years of Internet Humor, Volume 1. So that should be an indication of where we think this is going. There's plenty for more volumes, I think. Bill, tell me what the internet humor is about. I know it derived from a collection of your emails to your sales staff back in the day. This is in the 90s when the internet got born.
Back in the day when we only had bulletin boards and we didn't know what email was.
We didn't know. The stuff we didn't know. And the stuff we didn't do. We weren't sure what emails were, and we didn't sure we'd even need to read them. And that's why you come up with the idea, you found too many people were ignoring the email. They were like, what? Either I don't know. We got certainly today we're desensitized to email. We get too many. There needs to be a reason why we would open an email, read an email. You tacked on snippets of humor, inspirational thoughts of the day, whatever it was. Like, genius. You were ahead of your time.
Well, that was back in the day. If you did get an email, you got this recording that said, "You've got mail," and you needed to check it out. Remember that one?
I remember that.
But you're right. It was just a way to get my sales staff to start reading their emails. And it worked two ways because, they were typically humorous or inspirational and gave the sales folks something to talk with their clients about. And their clients said, "Hey, that's great. Could we get them too?" And so why not? There's no postage. So we started adding the clients to the list if they wanted it. And today, 30 years later, I've got people all over the country. I've got people in Europe and Australia and India getting these things just because they want to. Why not? Still doesn't cost anything. Anybody can get them.
Yeah, they get shared because of they're interesting, they're funny, they're inspirational. These thoughts. So we've all seen the emails where sometimes someone will have a quotation in their sign off, at the bottom of an email. Where did you put your little thought of the day or your joke? Was it front loaded at the end? Where did you put it?
Well, it was the entire email, basically. Came out and said, thought for the day, a thought for Wednesday, gave a title, gave who sent it, and then there it was.
So that was the whole purpose. That was the whole email.
That was the whole email, right?
I didn't
Still
know.
is.
Okay.
Still is.
So where do you get the material? I mean, where do you come, if it's I know sometimes it's an inspirational story, and some of them are just, they will tear you up when you read them. And some of them are just, dad humor. I don't know. Where do you get your stuff?
Well, that was a problem to start with. I had to, dig around and come up with stuff myself. But then after a while, people started sending me stuff. And now the situation is I've just got to sort through all the stuff people send me, find the best ones, edit them so they are acceptable for the audience, and put them together. So now I'm more of an editor, but I will have to admit a bunch of the stuff is mine as well.
We're talking to Bill Williams, whose practice began in the 90s when the internet was new. His practice of sharing a thought of the day or a funny quip or some inspirational story via email became pretty popular to the point where you started, I'm hoping, collecting these. Now, explain why there's 20 Years of Internet Humor, Volume 1. That's the book, but you've been doing this for 30 years. Somehow you had a decade of stuff you didn't get saved, maybe.
Well, think back to the computers in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay. Our ability to save material was floppy disks and a few other ways. Okay. And quite frankly, I had no idea that I was going to be doing this. So I had no inspiration to actually save them. So the stuff that I've got saved for the most part goes back to 2005, which is about 20 years ago.
So a decade into doing this, and finally you think, man, I should save these. I got something going. You saw now the writing on the wall, so to speak, and this was really steamrolling in popularity. And at what point did you say this could be a book? Did somebody had to convince you, hey, this is a book, Bill? Or did you approach someone? Why did you think to even make a book of these emails?
Well, I wasn't smart enough to think about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's relatively recently, and it was about 4 or 5 years ago when the political discourse got so loud and screaming and people yelling at each other. I said, people need to laugh more. So I took it to a bunch of agents to try to find an agent, and they said, we're not interested. Nobody will want something like this. And then I realized that the publishing industry had changed drastically. Yeah, I've been writing for 50 years, but I'd never published a book before. And now I discovered that in talking with a couple of my friends who had published, they say, no, we don't even use agents anymore. Okay, it's all, for the most part, self-publishing or hybrid publishing. So I found a publisher and put the first one out myself. And I've got 2 more ready to go. I'm just putting the final touches on them right now, and I've probably got enough material for 10 volumes.
Wow, that's why Volume 1. Check that out, by the way. You can find this book wherever you find books. Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or your local bookstore. Find out. I want to get on the list actually of the emails, because I want one of these emails in my inbox. I want to make sure though that you're not going to share my email or sell it or something like that. But we can do that. Where do we go on the internet to get on board?
Just need to go to my website or write me an email at bill@internet-humor.com. There needs to be that hyphen between internet and humor, or I'll never get it.
Okay.
And just say, put me on your list, give me your email address and where you live, your state and city and state, and that's all I need. And then if you don't like something and don't want to get it anymore, all you have to do is hit unsubscribe and you're off the next day. So no big deal.
Bill, explain what is, in your eyes, what is the definition of internet humor? And I'm thinking the internet humor we shared with each other back in the 90s, it has a nostalgic feel. It's much needed in today's day and age, as you reference. We're in a crazy world today. We just need to lighten up and laugh or be inspired by something. Give us some hope. We need internet humor. What is that to you?
Well, it's really anything that appears on the internet, but let's face it, there's an awful lot of stuff on the internet that I'd never be using. I got to guarantee you. And stuff that it's changed, very much. And one of the most frequent things you see in terms of humor on the internet right now are memes.
I was going to ask you that. What do you think of me? Yeah.
It is just a fact of life. But back when I started doing this, I'd never even heard the term meme.
No.
Okay. It didn't exist. This is something new. And another thing about it is every one of the things in the book gives the date that it was used. So you can put it into perspective. Okay.
Yes.
And, I've got some things about talking about the president and presidential vacations and things of that nature. And you look at it, and it's certainly not a current president. Okay. It tells you about Obama or Bush or, before that.
I'm just reading a book now that's a collection of the best of Dave Barry, popular newspaper, funny guy. And
really great guy.
He's so funny. And that stuff still works. It still plays. It doesn't matter from what era, what decade, it still works. Funny stuff. Bill Williams, his book, 20 Years of Internet Humor, Volume 1, available now. Bill, what is the book? How does it actually read out? Do you narrate through it at all, or is it just flat out edited collection of actual emails you've sent?
I've given a title to every single one of them. There's, I think, 167 in the first volume. And that, if you look at the table of contents, there they are, so you can find what you're looking for. I've got one that's as short as one sentence, and I've got some that are 5 or 6 pages. So The one sentence one is probably one of the most popular one. It's a picture of this cute little girl, about 3 or 4, and she's offering a prayer. Dear God, please send some clothes for those ladies on Grandpa's computer.
That's good. That's good. Give me an idea. I've heard you on another podcast. You must have accidentally signed up to be on another podcast, but this is the podcast, Bill. I have heard you mention a great inspirational story, something that's just, man, we're so happy to know this kind of thing exists or hear this kind of story. This is one that you'd be happy to have in your email box, your inbox. Give us one of those inspirational.
Well, one of them is entitled God's Wife, and it's from 2010. Okay. On a cold day in December, many years ago, a little boy about 10 years old was standing on the street in front of a shoe store, barefooted, peering through the window and shivering with cold. A lady approached the young boy and said, "My, but you're in such deep thought staring in that window." "Well, I was asking God to give me a pair of shoes," was the boy's reply. Well, the lady took him by the hand, went into the store, and asked the clerk to get half a dozen pairs of socks for the boy. She then asked if he could get a basin of water and a towel. He quickly brought them to her. And so she took the little fellow to the back part of the store and, removing her gloves, knelt down, washed his feet, dried them with the towel. And by this time, the clerk had returned with the socks. Placing a pair on the boy's feet, she brought him a pair of shoes. She tied up the remaining pairs of socks and gave them to him. She patted him on the head and said, "No doubt you'll be a lot more comfortable now." As she turned to go, the astonished child caught her by the hand and, looking up into her face with tears in his eyes, asked her, "Are you God's wife?"
I love it. If you want this kind of stuff in your inbox, and you need it, we all need this kind of stuff, check out Bill Williams on the interwebs. It's www.internet-humor.com, and sign up and get an inspirational, humorous thought of the day in your email inbox. If you can't wait for one at a time every day, go read a whole batch of them on Amazon. It's the new book from H.G. Bill Williams, 20 Years of Internet Humor, Volume 1. You can find it on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, etc. Bill, thanks for doing this.
Hey, it's been great. Thank you very much for the invitation. I hope you have a marvelous day up there.
Thank you so much, and I'm going to go sign up to make my day even better, to make sure it starts with an email from you. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
Bill Williams joining the show, Cowboy State Daily. Let's take a quick break. We'll get Jackie Dorothy in here next, right after this.
Wyoming is the cowboy state. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily news team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily video newscast every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Sometimes fatherhood
I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
can feel like an epic battle.
But you will.
But you can change your kid's world just by being there. And with a little help, you won't believe how high they can soar.
All right, bud, you ready?
I'm proud to call you my son.
Come on!
Never stop being a dad. To learn more, visit fathersincorporated.com.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Jackie Dorothy is in the Zoom room, joins us now. Jackie, my wife just took all the rest of the coffee.
I think I drank half a pot already this morning.
You're a coffee person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I meet some people who are not, and I really have to wonder.
I do too. It's a strange thing. I know people that actually drink soda in the morning instead, and I just think that's not right.
Well, yeah, I mean, that might jumpstart the system. That's probably a sugar high, and it's not long lasting. I don't know, but I need coffee.
I do too. Give me coffee over breakfast. I'll take it any day.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jackie, the big question of the day.
All right, I'm ready.
What happened with all those drones in New Jersey? Remember that? That's all we could talk about. And then they were also in Wyoming, and now are they gone?
Wasn't it over in Lusk that they were the drone?
I thought so, or I can't remember, but yeah, even the sheriff is like, I don't know what the drones are, and they were flying over sensitive places, and the drones in New Jersey, the FAA said they're not ours, and the government said they're not ours. Now, nobody's talking about them anymore. Are they gone?
No, I think they're still there. I watch Skinwalker Ranch. I know that there's something out there.
What do you watch?
Skinwalker Ranch. You got to tell me you haven't seen that show.
No.
Oh my gosh, Jake, you are missing out. It is the best scientific show.
No way.
Weird happenings. Yeah, they have a bubble over the ranch. They started off talking about the Navajo and the legends, the Ute legends and everything. And so for years, there's been strange happenings on this ranch. And now they're showing scientifically that there's strange stuff happening.
What? Where do I find this? Where do I get it?
I believe it's on the History Channel or Discovery.
Okay.
One of those. So Google Skinwalker Ranch. It's the best show ever.
Oh my goodness. How am I not up on this?
I have no idea. It's even better than, Treasure of Oak Island.
What's that one?
Are you kidding me?
We must get different TV channels.
That is like the #1 show in America. It's Oak Island Treasure Hunters, and it's off of the coast of Canada. And they've been tracking it down to the Templar Knights.
Oh, Templar Knights are very interesting. Were they the ones entrusted to hide away the Ark of the Covenant?
Yes, and all those treasures. Now, I think the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. I think the Ethiopian people have taken care of it all these years.
Oh.
The Queen of Sheba, all that story, right?
You're up on it. I don't get the same TV channels as you.
You are so missing out. You can stream it and you can go back and look at old episodes.
Interesting.
Those are the two top shows. I mean, there's some others out there, but Skinwalker Ranch, that's your homework assignment.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Treasure of Oak Island.
Wow. All right. Well,
Steve, you've missed out on those.
I've missed out on those. And I'm not surprised they would be on the top of your list. They sound like Jackie Dorothy kind of shows. Definitely.
They are. Because I think what I like about it is my grandfather was a scientist. He had like over 1,000 patents. And so I grew up listening about quantum physics and all of these different things. It was just, I thought it was part of everyone's childhood. And so then to listen to Skinwalker Ranch, it just reminds me of my grandpa and scientifically proving all these things.
Interesting.
And it's a great show. They've gotten to the point now where they're like, whoa, we're finding something, and it could be a spacecraft that the United States had hidden in the 1960s. I mean, it was getting a little woo-woo for a while there, but now it's just pure science, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. I love when science verifies like history. No, not the woo. I don't want things getting too off track because that gets too freaky. I love when scientists does back up history. Like you hear about some history and you think, oh, that's an old wives' tale or that's folklore. And then science says, no, there was some truth to whatever it was. Like, I love that.
No, the discoveries that they're making. I think the last discovery was they found a 1965 nickel, and they explained how in archaeology sites, when they dig a site, they'll put in a modern coin so that if someone else comes back and is starting to dig that site, they'll come across the coin and realize that that site has been dug and in this year.
Oh,
I didn't know about that.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Interesting.
So they're digging in this area. They thought they were the first ones there, and then they found this 1965 nickel. So they know in the 60s, someone was there.
Jackie, you got so much going on that I'm not aware of. I'm glad.
Oh, I'm just a fan of a great show, and now you have to go watch it.
Yeah, I'll check it out if I have time. Time is the problem.
It is.
Well,
it is true, but I think you can binge it just by going to their website. And they have a lot of good information, catch you up on it, and then you'll be drawn in just like the rest of us.
I'm still trying to work my way through the second season of Wednesday, which I really like. But yeah.
I thought you meant the week, and I'm like, yeah,
no. Right. I'm stuck in midweek, literally.
I'm back yesterday.
I'm stuck on yesterday, Wednesday. I cannot even get to the weekend. It seems so far away. Speaking of the weekend, what are you working on that we might read over the weekend?
Well, Justin just asked me to do a story that I'm excited about, and it's the Outlaw Trail that Robert Redford took. And it's like 600 miles of rugged terrain, and he rode it on horseback in the 1976 and wrote a National Geographic about it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like explore what he discovered here in Wyoming. Bill Sniffen, our very own Bill Sniffen, saw him while he was on this trek.
Really?
Yes.
And that was like some for real writing. Like Robert Redford, everybody knows, recently died. Yeah, he played a cowboy, and like all Hollywood actors, he's just acting, he's just pretending. But Redford actually got so into it and got so enamored and loved the West that he became a modern day old cowboy, and he went on this long ride. Like it was a legit horse ride.
It really was. And what's fun about it is that when we start doing these stories, people are like sharing their Robert Redford sightings from the 70s and 60s.
Oh.
So apparently, while he was researching Jeremiah Johnson, the story about the mountain man, he came to Wyoming to immerse himself in it, got lost. He's in his fancy sports car from California and stops at the local liquor store here in Thermopolis.
Oh, man.
Yes, he's asking for directions. The funny part is you know how it is with celebrity sightings? Sometimes you don't realize who it is until after they drive away.
Yes. With a Robert Redford back in the day, especially if you're a woman, you're like, I don't know who that was, but I'm in love. And then later you're like, I think that was Robert Redford.
Yes. So it's going to be fun just to kind of share what his experiences were in Wyoming and what drew him here. And I think it really influenced a lot of his acting and directing in the future.
Isn't that interesting how, they say you catch the acting bug. He caught the Wild West bug. Like, he and Paul Newman were in that movie, and Paul Newman didn't necessarily catch the, Wild West bug, but Robert Redford sure did. He loved stuff about it. And yeah,
What's fun about that is that was the first time that those two met, was at the Sundance Kid.
Is that right?
Movie. They hadn't really worked together or did anything. And then Paul Newman was like, they didn't even want him for that movie originally because he was not a popular actor. They didn't know who he was. He didn't have a fan base.
Oh, so he was the rookie in that pairing. Redford had more billing stature. Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either until you start doing some digging and you're like, well, that's cool.
I mean, they would both go on to be superstars, but yeah, interesting. All right, well, that'll be a fun story. Good idea.
And I hinted about it. Hopefully it'll show up this weekend. Is about the miner that gambled away $1 million in the 1860s. It was really cool because all the newspapers of the time said that there was a 3-year period where South Pass City was the most wild place, even by Wild West standards. And it was because you had these gamblers and drunks that struck it rich. And there's these stories that I've verified, and they're true, that this guy discovered this rich mine, the richest mine in South Pass. And he was a rich guy, actually came from a wealthy family in Chicago back east, came west to seek his fortune and gambled it away.
Wow. Just when you thought the Yukon was wild when they struck it, and wherever they shouted Eureka, things got crazy. As fast as you made money, you spent money. Can you imagine living in one of those kind of like strike towns?
I'll share a story from it because it was so funny.
Yeah.
Is that they said that he was gambling one night and then all of a sudden they ran out of money and they're like, oh, and they ran back to their mine quickly. They do the mercury, the dangerous thing. They got but $100 worth of gold. They were in a hurry, decided to cool it off and threw it in a snowbank. And it was a 10-foot drift. They looked at it and said, oh, that's not going to work. So they went back to their mine and got more money, got more gold, and then ran back to the gambling table.
That's crazy.
Yes, they said, we'll get it in the spring. A few $100s. What's that in 1860?
Yeah.
1868 that happened in.
1868, sitting down to the poker table, somebody raises and you can't see that bet. So you're like, hold on, I got to get my pickaxe. I'll be right back. And you run to the mine. That's insane.
It is. I've learned a lot about hard rock mining doing these stories because the stamper mill, how that works now, I understand. The mercury that they use to extract the gold from the quartz. I mean, it was just a fascinating techniques that they used to do this that are still used today, except not the mercury, especially the fumes and everything. You might have had a few, that might have also led to a few crazy wild nights.
That didn't help. Yeah. That is fascinating. South Pass City, yeah, that was a strike town and now practically a ghost town. What happened that ended it? Did he just run out of ore? It just crapped out?
For 3 years, they mined it and it was just easy pickings. And then when it got harder, they had to all spend all their money. So they didn't have enough money to get the equipment needed.
Yeah.
And what happened to South Pass is it was just too hard to get the gold out to make it profitable.
Yeah. And sometimes
there are still miners up there.
Right. Sometimes you see now with better technology, they go back to these old strike towns, these old ghost towns. But
well, up here in Birdseye, just above my place, they had about 500 gold mines, I think it was, in 1906. I mean, Shoshone was founded as a gold mining town. That was when it was a bonanza. It was a railroad town, but what really brought the people in was the promise of gold in the Copper Mountains, gold and copper. And that petered out as well because it proved too hard to get the gold out.
Very cool. Well, I got a TV assignments. I got to go watch a couple of these TV shows. I mean, you dropped the name of these shows like they were common knowledge, like everybody watched them. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know what they are.
I am shocked.
Sorry to disappoint you, Jackie. I'll get right up to speed as fast as I can.
I expect you to.
Thanks for being on the show. Have a great weekend. Jackie Dorothy, Cowboy State Daily Show continues along on this Thursday. Well, we all have our homework assignment, a couple of TV shows to watch and a couple of Jackie Dorothy stories to watch for this weekend. Can't wait till we see them out there on the Cowboy State Daily. We got to take a top-of-the-hour news break for our radio affiliates. We'll be back on the other side of that. Thanks for spending your morning with us.
Time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Mac Watson. Governor Mark Gordon on Wednesday said anticipated budget shortages precipitated by a 25% property tax cut are one of several critical issues county and local officials must confront during the coming budget session. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports the governor made the remarks while addressing the 2025 Wyoming Association of County Officers meetings in Rock Springs, a gathering of county officials from across the state.
I spoke to some commissioners who were saying that they're concerned this is going to begin impacting local services such as emergency ambulances, such as trash pickup. And they were really worried that without finding some other source of funding, that this was going to continue to impact them in a really serious way. I spoke to one commissioner from Hot Springs County, Tom Ryan, the chairman, who told me that he was concerned that all of these cuts are going to make his county more dependent on state dollars rather than these local dollars.
The governor did acknowledge having flown into town through a thick fog that morning. He likened it to the coming budget concerns facing Wyoming's elected officials. In 2021, when YouTube announced it was censoring anti-vaccine content, Scott Clem had a vague sense of a brewing conspiracy and that something wasn't right. What the former Wyoming representative said on Facebook at the time was that YouTube's new policy was, quote, the end of free speech. According to the information available at the time, he was wrong. But on Tuesday, Alphabet, the company overseeing YouTube and Google, took accountability for caving to government pressure. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland spoke to Clem about his hunch.
Back in 2021, Scott Clem, a former Wyoming state representative, posted that YouTube's new COVID and election censorship policies were the end of free speech. And Cowboy State Daily, we were quick to correct him, like, no, private platforms can do what they want. I circled back to Scott Clem on Wednesday, like, okay, so you intuited that this was a free speech issue when we were around to critique you. What do you have to say today? And he said, yeah, I kind of thought the government was behind it all along.
Clem told Cowboy State Daily people should still be vigilant to defend their freedom of speech, no matter which party is in power. A nuclear fuel manufacturing company explained Wednesday why it required non-disclosure agreements with Gillette City officials before discussing a proposed facility that would bring more than 200 jobs to Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the public is concerned about the secrecy surrounding the discussions between the company and the city.
BWXT wants to clear the air around that. They're having a public hearing on Tuesday next week, and they want to introduce themselves to the town and really explain their ambitions. They want to build TRISO fuel, and TRISO fuel could be the fuel of the future if you really believe in small nuclear reactors and micro reactors. And so the public, if they have questions, here's a chance for them to be answered.
Joshua Parker, Director of Business Development for BWXT Advanced Technologies, said the company needed confidentiality agreements to protect commercially sensitive information about the size and scope of its proposed TRISO fuel fabrication facility. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Hey, Cowboy fans! Cowboy football single game tickets are on sale now. We can't wait to see you in War Memorial Stadium on Saturdays this fall. Whether it's being a part of the Gold Out against Northern Iowa, homecoming against UNLV, the Border War versus CSU, or other great matchups, let's pack the war. Get your tickets today at GoWyo.com or call 307-766-7220. Go Pokes!
Track inspectors are just one of the many cogs in the safety wheel that keeps railway cars moving across the tracks across Wyoming. But former legislator and retired railroad worker Stan Blake says continued rail layoffs coupled with more automation will mean more train accidents in Wyoming. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean spoke with Blake, who said he's concerned about automated systems.
The American Association of Railroads says that these automatic track inspectors can do the job and do the job better than people. But a lot of the union reps and the retired railroad worker I talked to, Stan Blake, said that's actually not the case.
The Association of American Railroads has asked to waive more than 80 railroad safety regulations, all at a time when the industry has dramatically reduced workforce levels by more than 30%. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
But the good news is, there's an organization making a big difference. Covenant House.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and the tools they need to succeed in life.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, and love, most of all love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges, and their lives are transformed.
Covenant House is changing the lives of young people in cities across America.
To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
And just like that, we're back. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Mark Hines will be here shortly. Also coming up, Larry Roop. He was from what I can remember, the very first bear biologist with Game and Fish. So that goes back a ways. Larry was doing it long ago. It's pretty cool. And Ernie Marsh, the award-winning, we can now say that, award-winning silversmith will be with us. It'll be pretty cool to talk to Ernie and see what he thinks. He is a spur maker, bit maker, anything to do with silversmithing. That's your guy, Ernie Marsh. That'll be a fun discussion. Mark Hines in the show. Mark, we got Larry Roop coming on after you. One of the the first bear biologists for Game and Fish way back when.
Oh, cool.
When we were just discovering grizzly bears and black bears. Yeah, what should we ask him? I mean, I'm going to ask him, obviously, the difference. Give us some ways we can tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear. Sometimes it's difficult.
Sometimes it's extremely difficult.
Yeah. He will also, I think, chime in on the effectiveness or not effectiveness of conservationists and other wildlife advocates who buy bear tags, hunting tags, in order to prevent hunters from getting animal. Ask him what he thinks about that. Anything else? Ask him if he's ever been bit by a bear.
Yeah, ask him that, and maybe ask him his thoughts on the current debate between sheer numbers of bears versus connectivity of populations. We brought that up several times.
Yeah,
you and I, the two sides of, because that plays into that bigger question over whether it's time to delist the bears. Is you have the folks on one side saying it's all about genetic connectivity between populations, and the other side saying that just the raw numbers are far beyond what they need to be. So that would be interesting to get his perspective on that particular matter. So,
good point. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, I will get his take on that. Is it are we recovered by just the numbers, or does he think the bears got to roam around more? And yeah, okay. Good question. Meanwhile, down in there's a lot of reasons to to bristle when it comes to the reintroduction of wolves. Back in the 90s when we did it in Yellowstone and Wyoming, people said, hey, that's not the wolf that used to be here. That's a big, giant Canadian wolf. That's different. And now in Colorado, they're saying, hey, those wolves you gave us, they were all riddled with disease. Is that true? Were they all infested?
Well, Colorado CPW, and they brought receipts for this. That they have a policy of that. A whole. They get as much or more, more medicine and treatment than a shelter pup gets before they get adopted out.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool thing about adopting a dog or cat from a shelter. If I can plug for that, is because they you get them with all their shots and all their they're up to date. But that doesn't dismiss the possibility that once they're out there running around, they're not going to pick those diseases back up just through the animals they eat. And yes, there is a line of thinking that that hydatid disease in particular might have come into Colorado, or at least was boosted in Colorado by those wolves that crossed on their own, back in 2019, 2020, the ones that became the North Park pack. That pack no longer exists. That pack essentially disintegrated, but it was a thing for a couple of years there, and there is a line of thinking that those wolves brought that in, and then it kind of got, or didn't bring it in, but they exacerbated the amount of it there in Colorado, and then it's kind of been spreading ever since because it did. The guy I talked to, he brought receipts too from that veterinary lab in Kansas. It did show up in 2 wolves that had come from Oregon. So if what CPW, what they have receipts for is, well, that they those wolves were cleared of that at the time of reintroduction, it showed up in their scat in 2024, which means they might have been reinfected by gobbling something out there in Colorado. So yeah, it's there does seem to be a growing concern of that, over that. There is a human health concern, but right now it seems to be more focused on, do we want it getting, we're already dealing with CPW and blue tongue disease in our cervid populations. Now, do we want this disease running rapid in them? And then also, of course, very concerns over it getting into cattle because, cattlemen are already, they're already dealing with brucellosis. So they need another disease that, could tank the marketability of their livestock. So yeah, it's definitely a concern. And the one point of view that some people have is that really the primary vector for spreading it is not to sound too crude, but wolf poop. So there, that's kind of that whole thing in a nutshell.
It's a little early in the morning to be dropping wolf poop.
Wolf poop, yeah.
The Colorado Parks and Wildlife, they ensure the public that they deloused all those wolves of hydatid and anything else. And if it is showing up in the state, there's a lot of ways maybe it could get there. Okay.
And it was already there. Like CPW pointed out, if as far back as 2017, they found it in a moose. And if you find it in one moose, then that means it's probably in other critters out there. So it's not as if it were just not in Colorado previously or in Wyoming or out there in the ecosystem. It's just that there's a concern that it's spread, prevalency and spread have both been greatly accelerated, and some people are pointing at the wolves as the reason for that. So that's kind of what's going on. Yeah.
Interesting issue you bring up with this wolf, this popular wolf that was shot legally hunted. We'll talk about the issue in a minute, but first, when I first read the headline, "Fans Mourn Popular Yellowstone Wolf Killed by Montana Hunter," I thought, oh no, here's more of this, just going overboard with making wildlife heroes and making them superstars and rock stars. I'm like, let them be wildlife. They're just wild animals. 1479F achieved a certain status in its short life and a following for its behavior, and then it was harvested by a Montana hunter. And I feel bad when you get attached to a wolf, like as a photographer, as a wildlife viewer, and you notice its characteristics. This wolf was, they talked about how it was really curious and silly, and then you all of a sudden, you form an emotional attachment and when it's hunted. So there is that, but there's also the issue of is it fair? And talk about that. Hunting wolves that, they don't know where they are. What over here, they can't be hunted. 2 feet over here, they can be hunted. And it's like,
I think the popular nomenclature these days is to say that it's a fraught issue.
Yeah, fraught. All right.
The park wolves. I mean, from a certain point of view, wolves are wolves. The states have management once they set foot out of the park. They're in state jurisdiction, and the rules apply. And all 3 of the states border that butt up against the park have legal licensed wolf hunting, and that's just the way we manage wolves. That's one side of it, and of course the other side of it is what you mentioned. Is some people are saying, well, these wolves and that come up in the park are so used to people not being a threat to them that is that really fair chase? So make of that what you will, one side or the other of that debate. But I think it's interesting. It segues into that. We've had an article or two about that phenomenon of celebrity wildlife. I just think a case could be made that it's just inevitable. We live in an age where there's cameras everywhere, and there's social media, and animals have a magnetism about them, and so I think one could say it's inevitable that certain particular animals that get photographed or video or blogged about frequently are going to attain celebrity status far beyond the borders of the park, far beyond Wyoming. And from you're correct from a pure, I think scientists have told me they find that frustrating because they're looking at these animals in a scientific sense. They're looking at them at the species level. They can't, in their profession, they can't get emotionally attached to one particular animal. But people who watch wildlife, or tourists, or maybe people who just sit at their home and follow these animals on social media, you are correct, Jake. They do get quite attached to one specific animal. So when that animal meets its fate, it's a painful experience for them. I mean, there were many people deeply saddened all over the world when 399 got hit by a car, or Wolf 907F died of natural. She died in a fight with other wolves, which is completely natural. That's a common way for wolves to die in the wild. People were still sad about it. So you're right. It brings up that philosophical question of where do we draw the distinction, or where do we draw the line between objectively looking at animals as a species and species level management and conservation versus getting to know individual animals either in the field or through social media, and as you said, establishing these folks feel a personal connection with a particular animal. So
I think I think there's room for middle ground between the scientist who refers to 1479 as simply a number on a spreadsheet, one of a population, and then the person who's like knows everything about 1479 and shares the photos on social. Somewhere in between there's common ground. Like, we do like that people, come to see the wolves and come to know them. That's a cool thing. As long as you don't do things like vilify the hunter, like hunting, that was a terrible thing that hunter did. Like, the hunter's doing something legally. There is an issue of, what do you do about that when the wolf feels like it can be here and not hunted, and then you can create a buffer zone, but you still have the same problem. At a certain point, the wolf can be shot at with a camera and a camera only. And at a certain point, the wolf can be shot at with a rifle. Well, the wolf doesn't know where it is.
Exactly. And social media amps everything up on steroids. I mean, I don't know if you remember Wolf 06 was a immensely famous female wolf in Yellowstone, wandered out, got shot by a hunter, I believe, in Wyoming, and that was in the relative infancy or the elder days. As my kids might say, the elder days of social media. But 06 06 blew up, controversy when she got shots. But yeah, I mean, yeah, social media puts everything on steroids. It's funny because I was just talking to, my daughter, the youngest kid who's 18, and some of her friends last night, and I said, God, when I was your age, the rule was if nobody, that line from Black Mass, if nobody saw it, it didn't happen. Nowadays with you kids, if it happens, everybody's going to see it, and not just your friends. Everybody all over the world's going to see it in 5 minutes. So
and
they play by a different set of rules than we did, Jake.
And I'm assuming your 18-year-old daughter is now too old to spank her when she says, "Oh, Dad, those were the elder days. Come here, I'll show you."
Elder days.
Elder days.
Yeah. But
those smart aleck kids.
But yeah, I mean, and I think that if nobody saw it, if a hunter shoots a particular animal, like I said, back in the 70s or 80s, the word might not have gotten out, or might have gotten out in a couple newspapers, but we knew within hours because of social media. I had people blowing up my hey, did you hear what happened?
I know.
So yeah, we definitely live in a world of, everybody knows everything all the time right away.
Definitely. Definitely. And there's good and bad with that. A lot of bad, but yeah, that's true. All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much for your insight. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too.
Bye. Mark Hines of the Cowboy State Daily, a story about the popular Wolf 1479, a 2.5-year-old female that some fans of the Wolf, yes, the Wolf has a fan club, and they were mourning the loss. A Montana hunter shot that wolf in a legal hunt. Where do you draw the line? It's tough. It's a tough call. I mean, it's great that people get invested in the wildlife. They get excited about seeing wildlife like a wolf and take photos of it. But yet we have to remember the wild and wildlife. These are wild animals, and there are hunts, legal hunts of these animals, at least for the wolf. It's a tough call. There's a lot there. And Mark Hines walks us through that story. Were those wolves released in Colorado? All kinds of infested with parasites. CPW says, no, we deloused them. They didn't have high data when we let them out of the cages or anything else. They were treated for a number of diseases before being released. Cowboy State Daily continues. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more after this.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in DuBois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there?
I got stuck.
Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
I don't think many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake, moving along here on a Thursday, and we go from wolves to bears. Yeah, that's an easy transition, right? One apex predator to another. Let's welcome into the discussion Larry Roop. Larry, we don't have video on you. If that's intentional, I don't know, but that's okay, as long as we can hear you.
I'm sorry that the video's not on. I don't know what I did wrong.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what usually happens. Operator error. Usually on my end, Larry, but this time we'll blame it on you. That's okay. As long as we can hear, we're going to talk about bears, right?
Correct.
That's in your wheelhouse. Were you from my notes, and I can't remember. I don't know. I go back that far in Wyoming, but were you the first bear biologist with Game and Fish in Wyoming?
I was. I began in 1973 as the first grizzly bear biologist for Wyoming.
So maybe, I'm fascinated with comparing the 70s and bears and now bears. Now, when we're talking about bear biologists, that back in the 70s and still today, that means all bears, right? All Bruins, grizzly, black bear, both species.
I worked on both species. I was the bear biologist, but I was also working with the interagency grizzly bear study team in Yellowstone with 2 parks, 5 national forests, and 3 states.
And that agency, by the way, the Interagency Grizzly Bear Study Team was stood up in 1973. That's recognition that to manage the grizzly bear, it takes a lot of departments, a lot of different people, because the bear, doesn't know where it is, on what forest, and a lot of different agencies have to check in. It's a smart idea to create something like Interagency Grizzly Bear Study Team. That's who it is that does the research on bears, does bear trapping and bear relocation, right?
Yes. The Craigheads had ceased doing studies in the park after about 15 years, and the agencies did not want to let the research in because the bear population was very low back then.
We're talking to the first bear biologist with Game and Fish, started back in the 1970s, Larry Roop. Larry, did you ever think back then when you started that we would get to a place where we are now, before we talk about whether we got enough bears, too many bears, not enough? Did you ever think we'd get to a place where bears were so popular, we knew them by name, we knew them by sight, and we have a Grizzly 399 that everybody in the world knows who that bear was and loved it? Like, did you ever imagine we'd get there?
Well, I have a photo of Bear 399 and her cubs behind me, which you can't see, but I wanted to point out that when I started in 1973 working with the interagency team, I captured bear number 1 in Crandall. And after about 20 years with the bear study, I went to the Game and Fish Department's regional wildlife biologist, but I think we're up to about 145 bears captured at that time. And you see where we're at today.
Yeah. Yeah, you see where the numbers are today. Bear number 1, that's back when the ear tag just had the single-digit bear 1. Larry Roop, that was back in the beginning. All right, I just want to bounce around all different kinds of places, Larry, because to have an expert like you on, we got to take advantage of that. We've seen issues sometimes with hunters or with just people out hiking being unable to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly. Black bears can sometimes appear cinnamon in color and look like a grizzly can sometimes look like a black bear. It's not easy to tell, even from an expert like you, I think.
I used to give classes on how to identify bears for the the hunter education program, but today we've got some very dedicated and professional people who give classes on this, and it's very important because it is difficult to tell the difference, and there are black grizzlies.
And some things we look for, obviously, you should be looking for the exaggerated hump. You know, that grizzly bear is going to be really muscled around the front end, the shoulders, and then taper off. You look for rounded ears on the grizzly, where the black bear will have more pointed ears. You look for kind of a dish face, if you can see the profile. But why, Larry, is it key to know? Let's say I'm just a hiker and I'm going along and I see a bear about 100 yards away. It's important on how your reaction, how you behave, whether you know this as a black bear or a grizzly. You should take different behavior. Like, what should we do if it's a black bear, and how is that different from what if we're pretty sure that's a grizzly? How should we act?
Well, both bears can be dangerous and aggressive, but grizzlies much more so. And the bear spray is effective, but as in the case of the recent mauling, it doesn't always work. And I certainly advise anyone, if you're in grizzly country, to carry the bear spray. And walking through woods, like the incident in the park at Turbid Lake, I was surprised to hear that was a black bear, because grizzlies outnumber black bears. They're about 3 to 1. And but certainly encounters in timber or close range like that happen when you wander onto a bear.
Yeah, Larry, I didn't know that. Did the park confirm? They just thought that was going to be a grizz because of where, but did they confirm that was a black bear attack?
I have not heard that, and I just saw reports that it was a black bear. But I've worked Turbid Lake, and that's prime grizzly bear country.
Yeah.
And so I would guess, if they don't know, that it probably was a grizzly bear. They outnumber blacks about 3 to 1 in that area, and certainly the aggression indicates that. But I don't know, and I haven't heard any reports for sure.
Yeah, and talk about, different times of year. Maybe in early July, we encounter a grizzly. Now, anytime you surprise a bear, that's probably going to be trouble in the end. But let's say an encounter, some kind of encounter with a bear in early July might not be the same as it would be right now in the late fall or in the fall now. As bears packing on calories, getting ready for hibernation, they are thinking of one thing only, and that's eating. And if you get in the way of them and food, they're kind of cranky.
You're absolutely right. And of course, in the spring, you have sows with cubs that are a threat.
Yeah.
And anytime that antler hunters are out looking and wander on an elk carcass, they have to be concerned, of course. But right now in the fall, bears are stressed and trying to put on a lot of weight before hibernation. And this year, I hear the moth numbers are low, which means they're not going to be up on the talus slopes digging rocks for moths, and they will be down where hunters are. And I anticipate this fall is going to be very active, as we've already seen.
Larry, you're exactly right. I have noted that as well. I don't know if that's a moisture thing. It's been a pretty drought kind of summer, not a ton of rain. I have noticed a lot less moths even in my house. So that tells me there's less moths, which the grizzly bear loves to eat those moths this time of year. You can find them up on the talus rock, flipping rocks over, looking for moths. And if they're not there, although they might be lower than normal. What did you see in your time and through your time as bear biologist with Game and Fish? Did you note the kind of behavior that sometimes we see where grizzly bears are sometimes triggered by a hunter's shot at an elk? They hear a gunshot and the grizz thinks, "Uh-oh, dinner bell."
Well, we had collars on these bears, and in tracking them, I saw that they actually followed hunters in some cases, and hunters would backtrack and find their tracks on theirs because they did recognize shots, and they came, and this is why we had more incidents with hunters dressing out an elk, and a bear showed up, so it was a serious problem.
Yeah, that's one thing you must have noted. You probably knew it before you ever became a bear biologist with Game and Fish, and you certainly probably figured it out real fast. How smart is this species? How smart are bears?
Well, they're very keyed in on a good meal. I can remember we had Angus cows that got killed with larkspur on the Beartooth, and grizzlies were feeding on those. Well, a year later, we had a collared grizzly near the Yellowstone Canyon, and the very day that bear was on the cow in the Beartooth, that bear took off and was back to the site.
We're losing Larry a little bit. Larry, your internet connection might be a little sketchy. You still with us? Man, we've had kind of an internet day with the governor and now with Larry Roop. Larry, you still there? Yeah.
Are we back?
I hear you there.
You went away for a while.
Yeah, I know. We both went away for a while. We'll blame it on the internet. We were talking about the intelligence of grizzly bear. What about, Larry, grizzly bears? Every year we trap and study them, sometimes collar them. That continues today. Do you see any effect of grizzly bear and how they behave? I always worry we're handling them too much, trapping these bears too much, and that makes them angry towards humans. Is there any indication that is true?
Well, the bears that are captured, we have studied bears that are back away from that, and there's not a lot of difference, except that some of the bears that we trap are near lodges and campgrounds, and they become food conditioned. And so that gets to be a problem. And part of the management strategy is to prevent bears from becoming habituated on garbage or human food.
We're talking to Larry Roop, the very first bear biologist with Game and Fish. When the department identified they needed to hire somebody who was a specialist on bears, Larry Roop got the call. How early on was he there? Well, he trapped the very first bear number 1. And we know, today's numbers were up a lot higher than that. Larry, let me ask you the $1 million question. All we talk about today is how many grizzlies there are. Seems to be way more encounters, a lot more conflicts with cattle and other urban interface problems. Do we have enough bears to finally delist? Is it a matter of sheer numbers, or some say the bear has to be able to intermingle so its DNA can be spread around in a healthy manner. What is, if you had to make the call today, can we delist the grizzly?
Well, I think the numbers of bears today are about 8 to 10-fold of what it was in the early 70s after they closed the dumps in the park.
Yeah.
And we certainly have a lot of encounters, and their range is spread far and wide in the Yellowstone region. So I think we could delist and have some more freedom, but we'll always be protecting them in the core areas where the bears take priority over the outer areas, which are subdivisions and the growth around the park. It's always going to be a management problem, and the department is very dedicated in maintaining bear populations.
Good point. Well said. Game and Fish, super important, and interagency grizzly bear study team, certainly important in making sure the grizzly has recovered. There'll be areas like in the national park. We've come a long way from public feeding of the animal to now understanding it better. One last thing, Larry, while we have you, we just saw in Florida, they opened for the first time in a long time a black bear hunting season. And we find that some conservationists and some folks concerned about bears are buying up the bear tags to prevent hunters from having the bear tags. Could they? What do you think of this practice? I like where their heart is, and the money is going to go towards these bears. That's good, but it could throw a wrench in wildlife management. Hunting season is a management tool, and if that gets messed up by too many people buying hunting tags, that could throw a wrench in the works, maybe.
Well, I find it somewhat amusing. They may deny hunters the opportunity to kill a black bear, but their intent to preserve or protect the population is misguided, because a good bear biologist knows that 20 to 30% of your population is going to die every year, and you manage so that they can replenish that population, and hunting factors into that. But natural mortalities and other things are going to still occur. And in Pennsylvania, they kill 2 to 3 times more black bears on the highway than they do by hunters. So by that practice, we'll have people who think football's too violent, and they'll buy all the tickets so fans can enjoy the game. Same outcome.
Good point, Larry. Well, I appreciate you being on. It's an honor, a legend, the first bear biologist with Wyoming Game and Fish, Larry Roop. He was there from day one when we barely had invented bears, and Larry saw some of the early. It's got to be so fascinating to see where we are now with grizzly bears.
I enjoyed visiting with you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Larry.
You too.
Larry Roop on the show, Cowboy State Daily, the first bear biologist. He trapped, tagged, and studied bear number 1. That's how long ago Larry was on the job. Let's take a quick break of the Cowboy State Daily Show. We'll be right back after this word.
The Seroptimists of Cody are inviting you to join them for their 17th annual Run for Hope, Saturday, October 4th. This 5K, 10K chip timed walk and run starts at the Rec Center at 9:30 a.m. with a kids race at 9. Proceeds support the Laney Cole Memorial Women's Cancer Fund. You can register for $35 in advance, $40 the day of the race. Discounted kids and student rates are available. You can register at Sunlight Sports in downtown Cody or online at runsignup.com. See you Saturday, October 4th for the Cody Seroptimist Run for Hope.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Loom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
Cowboy State Daily Show Thursday. Thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Whether you're listening in on some of the finer radio stations across the state, where we are in syndication, adding stations daily. And a big shout out to some of our affiliates, KGOS in Torrington. How you doing? K-Ray in Cheyenne, good morning. KTUG in Riverton, hello. KJAX Country in Jackson, howdy. And in Sundance on KYDT, they're dropping in. Maybe you're enjoying the show on YouTube. That's a cool way to do it. We like that. Facebook Live, X Live, CowboyStateDaily.com homepage. Or run it back when you're ready on demand. We have all the shows archived, all the shows being some 208. Actually, we're over 300 because we're coming up on our year anniversary. So, yeah, I got to count up exactly how many shows we have in the tank, but it's a lot. October 1st is the 1-year anniversary of the Cowboy State Daily Show. It's coming up soon. Let's get into the Zoom room. Oh, I just had Ernie and then he fell out. We're having a weird kind of Zoom day. I don't know why. It's just one of those days. There's a ghost in the machine. Ernie Marsh will be joining us. He's the award-winning silversmith. Ernie, if you're listening, come back. Try again. I don't know what happened. I had you for a moment. It's almost like Star Trek. If you watch the old Star Treks back in the 60s, not the newfangled Star Trek, not the Star Trek movies, like the original William Shatner, Spock, Star Trek. And when they tried to beam people aboard the ship, or beam people down, sometimes on the transporter, they would have a lock on somebody. They would have them almost there, and then they would fall off the transporter. They were trying to beam them in, and then they would lose them. And when you lost somebody, beaming them, their particles were gone. Like they went who knows where. That's what I feel like with the whole Zoom issue. Like, we had a lock on Ernie Marsh. He was right there in the transporter. And then his particles just evaporated. I don't know where he went. So we could do this day in history while we're at it. This day, September 25th, 1493. Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain with a flotilla of 17 ships. It was his second voyage to the Western Hemisphere. We all know the 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We learned the rhyme. Well, in 1493, on this day, Columbus made his second trip from Spain with a whole lot more ships, 17 compared to the original 3. This day, 1789, the first United States Congress adopted 12 amendments to the Constitution, sent them to the individual states for ratification. 10 of those amendments would become the Bill of Rights. On this day, 1909, big prize fight. Boxing was super popular in 1909, and apparently so was the nickname Kid. If you were a boxer, you wanted to name yourself Kid something, because it was this day in 1909, August Malchow, known as the Wisconsin Kid, he was from Montana, so I don't know how he got the name Wisconsin Kid. He defended his world welterweight crown at Metheny Hall in Thermopolis. And the fight was against challenger Kid Ernie of Lewiston. See, it's just one kid against another. In his professional career, the Wisconsin Kid, August Malchow, would go on to fight 3 more bouts, 2 of them also at Metheny Hall in Thermopolis, both of those being victories. He would go on to finally lose in Sheridan in 1910 and died in 1915 at the age of 30. August Malchow, known as the Wisconsin Kid. And I think the question is, how does a guy from Montana become known as the Wisconsin Kid? I do not know. Okay, let's get into the Zoom room, see if we can get Ernie Marsh going. Ernie, I see you're there. Let's see if we can hear you. How you doing? And perhaps not. Ernie is a silversmith, not necessarily an IT guy. Maybe he's having trouble navigating Zoom. I know I do. Almost every day, Ernie. Ernie? Bueller, last call for Ernie Marsh. I can see him connected, but I do not hear anything. Continuing on our This Day in History, 1933, this day, a memorial to June Downey. June Downey, an important early professor in a wide variety of interests at UW. In addition to writing poetry, teaching English, and then later psychology, she was a department head. She also wrote University of Wyoming's alma mater, June Downey. This day, 1933, a memorial to June was established, unveiled at the University of Wyoming. This day, 1956, the first transatlantic telephone cable went into service. On September 25th, 1963, John F. Kennedy stopped by at the University of Wyoming and gave a rather famous address. I have the whole script here in front of me. I'm not going to read it all, but JFK spoke at the University of Wyoming on this day, 1963. And finally, on this day, September 25th, 1997, Guernsey State Park was designated as a National Historic Landmark this day in 1997. All these things happen on this day in history. Let's check out the Western Ag Network and the Rodeo Roadshow.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Today, Flint Rasmussen joins me, and my younger brother talks about what he misses about the arena and rodeos. You'll be surprised at what he misses the most. He is an 8-time world champion rodeo clown, was the exclusive entertainer of the professional bull riders. Flint Rasmussen on the Roadshow. Coming up next.
Wyoming-born and country-raised Ian Munsick takes the stage at the First Interstate Arena Thursday, October 9th to kick off the Nile Stock Show and Ranch Rodeo.
or a jacked up pickup line.
Ned Ledoux opens for Ian on a night built for true fans of country music and the Western way of life.
That runs through his veins. Forever a cowboy he will remain.
Tickets available at the MetroPark box office or metropark.com.
Feed like you mean it. Fall is a critical window for cattle nutrition, and ADM's Roughage Buster is built for this moment. Designed for cattle on mature forages, it delivers a consistent source of rumen-available protein powered by Biorit to fuel microbial activity for improved forage utilization. That means better body condition, more milk, and heavier calves, delivering added profit. When performance matters, Roughage Buster delivers. Learn more at adm.com/beef.
There's those rodeos that there's just something about them, and I don't know. I think it's as I get older or as I've stepped away from the arena for a couple of years and took a breath, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get back to them, give back to them. How's that? I don't know. Brainstorming and working on some things. So it'd be nice. What I love about rodeo?
Tell me.
My favorite, probably one of my favorite things, is getting a hot cup of coffee and going and sitting in the bleachers and watching Slack at 9 in the morning. And I think here's where that comes from. You know this. When I was young and we had either the pickup with the camper on it or the mini Winnie motorhome, our dad always announced Slack. He'd always get up at 8 in the morning in Lewistown or whatever. And when mom would time, when they'd get up, they always slept up in the good bed in the nose of the camper. So when they'd get up and go to Slack, I would crawl up in that bed and kind of doze off, and I'd lay there and could hear our dad's voice.
Good memories from Flint Rasmussen on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake.
Rodeo Roadshow with Will. Ernie Marsh still having trouble connecting with Ernie. We're going to hope to get him on maybe later as we're running up against top of the hour deadline. Ernie Marsh is the award-winning silversmith, one of only 5 Wyomingites to be recognized. Recently, this story in the Cowboy State Daily came out just this week. Who wrote that story, by the way? I think that was a Jackie Dorothy story. Ernie Marsh was presented with a National Heritage Fellowship Award presented to him. This story came out midweek this week, or a couple days ago. Silversmith, bit and spur maker, received the highest honor in the nation for folks who work in traditional Western arts. One of only 5 artists in the Cowboy State to ever receive the award since its inception. And it is high praise, Ernie Marsh, for his work. His work is gorgeous, and we'll share some photos of it and hopefully talk to Ernie a little bit later. We'll try to get him on next hour, as Ernie might be great at silversmithing, maybe not so great at Zooming and working computers, which I totally get. I totally understand, because there's times where all I can think to do to make the internet work is to knock the side of the computer, just bang it for a couple times. I don't know. Scott Clem, we've had him on the show a couple times. Real smart guy. I think there's a political future for Scott Clem. Not that he's out of politics. He's a county commissioner now, former state lawmaker. But I think Scott Clem should throw his hat in yet another ring. He's a real smart guy. He's got great ideas, cares about the state so much. Scott Clem, back in the days of the pandemic, dared suggest that maybe the narrative we were hearing on YouTube or Facebook and all socials was so decidedly pointed to Washington, D.C.'s messaging when it came to, the vaccine for COVID. Everything to Scott Clem seemed like it was cooked up. He sensed a conspiracy. He sensed maybe YouTube and Facebook and pages like that, social media like that, was doing the bidding, doing the work of big government. And back then, he was just shouted down. Well, now it turns out, Scott Clem was exactly right. As we find out in a football spike moment, says Claire McFarland, that there is evidence now that, yes, those social media groups, Facebook and YouTube and such, did admit they were influenced, if not pressured, by government. I didn't mean to play the dragnet. It's kind of pertinent. They were influenced by the Joe Biden administration to toe the line when it came to COVID. Very interesting news. It's time for the top of the hour news break. Cowboy State Daily Show continues on the other side.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Mac Watson. On Wednesday, Governor Mark Gordon told Cowboy State Daily that he remains a proponent of wind energy developments in Wyoming, but recognizes constituent concerns. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports that the governor explained the issue is like walking a political tightrope as he and other government leaders try to balance the state's energy needs with residents' desire to keep Wyoming the way it is.
While the governor said that he's in favor of energy developments here in Wyoming, he recognizes pushback from locals on issues such as wind developments that can sometimes become an eyesore. However, he argued that some of these local jurisdictions don't have many other ways to make money on their own other than leasing some of their land to these wind developments.
The Trump administration has been a vocal opponent of wind turbines, while in Wyoming, a wind farm project voted down in Laramie County earlier this month continues to stir debate. Colorado's ongoing wolf reintroduction program is facing new wrinkles, with lingering accusations that wolves from the state of Oregon infected with a parasitic disease were released into the state. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that the Colorado Department of Parks and Wildlife claims that hydatid disease was already present in Colorado.
I saw the documents from a forensic veterinary lab in Kansas that tested some stool samples from some wolves that came from Oregon and were reintroduced into Colorado. They tested positive for hydatid disease. Part of the protocol of the wolf reintroduction program is when they bring these animals in, they are supposed to put them through a series of treatments and either treat them or vaccinate them.
Wolves brought in from Oregon and later British Columbia were treated for that and a number of other diseases before being released. A nuclear fuel manufacturing company explained Wednesday why it required non-disclosure agreements with Gillette City officials before discussing a proposed facility that could bring more than 200 jobs to Campbell County. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the public is concerned about the secrecy surrounding the discussions between the company and the city.
BWXT wants to clear the air around that. They're having a public hearing on Tuesday next week, and they want to introduce themselves to the town and really explain their ambitions. They want to build TRISO fuel, and TRISO fuel could be the fuel of the future if you really believe in small nuclear reactors and micro reactors. And so the public, if they have questions, here's a chance for them to be answered.
Joshua Parker, Director of Business Development for BWXT Advanced Technologies, says the company needed confidentiality agreements to protect commercially sensitive information about the size and scope of its proposed TRISO fuel fabrication facility. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Hey, Cowboy fans! Cowboy football single game tickets are on sale now. We can't wait to see you in War Memorial Stadium on Saturdays this fall. Whether it's being a part of the Gold Out against Northern Iowa, Homecoming against UNLV, the Border War versus CSU, or other great matchups, let's pack the war. Get your tickets today at GoWyo.com or call 307-766-7220. Go Pokes!
Jackson photographer Savannah Rose already has a portfolio filled with once-in-a-lifetime shots of Wyoming's wildlife, but an image she captured this week has already drawn the admiration and envy of wildlife photographers worldwide. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi spoke with Rose about getting that perfect shot.
Her goal was to find elk, and she found elk in Grand Teton. She saw this bull acting up, so she got herself in position, hoping to get the shot that she wanted. And as it happened, the elk rose to the crest of the hill where she wanted him to be. She threw herself on the ground to get the angle she wanted. She adjusted her camera settings very quickly, knowing she had seconds to get the shot. She aimed up, had the Grand Teton framed in his antlers perfectly, and got the shot while she was on the ground. And that's the dedication it takes if you want to be a top-tier wildlife photographer.
Rose has worked as a professional wildlife photographer since moving to Jackson 10 years ago. And popular Wyoming author C.J. Box dropped a bombshell on Wednesday's Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake Nichols when he announced that Cassie Duell and Joe Pickett are going to cross paths. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson says fans are going crazy.
It's like the Marvel Universe. His two big popular series are going to have some kind of a crossover. You just don't know. But if you're a fan of CJ Box and you've read his two series, it's a big deal.
Box did not disclose what kind of story the two characters will be in. And that's a look at today's headlines. You can get the full stories always at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Those 9 months were also 273 days of planning. What about your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. And let's not forget those barbecues you plan in detail for your family and your more vegetarian by the day best friends. That surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Back to the stories of the day, the discussions of the day. It's the Cowboy State Daily, final hour of the show this morning on a Thursday. Ask Abby coming up. It's going to be rebranded as Dear Abby, I think. That's the intention I have anyway. Renee Jean should be here shortly, and we're going to make a redoubled effort to connect with Ernie Marsh, the award-winning silversmith. Ernie had some just crummy Wi-Fi, I guess, where he was. So, yeah, we'll reach out again, see if we can get him. Renee should be here as well. I want to talk to her about several different things. Ask Abby, get ready. It's not going to be a right or wrong kind of Ask Abby. It's going to be a Dear Abby. We're going to get Dear Abby advice from Abby by asking her questions once posed to the famed columnist Abby Van Buren in a Dear Abby kind of Ask Abby way. At least that's how I'm going to do it. There's Renee Jean. Renee, Jackie, and I were talking this morning about people who are coffee drinkers and people who aren't. Where do you fall in that? I don't understand people who don't drink coffee. I don't know how they do it.
Well, I wouldn't be worth 2 pennies without my coffee.
There
really.
You go.
But when I'm sick, I don't drink it.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't even appeal to me when I'm sick. Like,
yeah.
Not having it. I know I'm starting to feel better when I finally won a cup of coffee.
Good point. Yeah. I think I'm the same way. You're right. When I don't feel well, coffee's not appealing. Yeah. But yes, coffee is a necessity. And then sometimes that's not even enough. I have to graduate, although I haven't tried it, to Red Bull and energy drinks. And then I think The final progression of that is trisol fuel, which I'm very interested in. BWXT. I'm gonna drink trisol fuel is where I need to go when the coffee doesn't work anymore.
You know that most Americans get most of their antioxidants. None of us get enough antioxidants, but most of us get it from our cup of coffee.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought it had to be a special kind of berry or some kind of fruits, but oh, wow.
Berries and fruits have antioxidants, but most Americans don't get enough antioxidants.
Yeah.
And the single largest source for antioxidants that Americans are consuming is in your cup of coffee.
I did not know that. That's good news for coffee drinkers.
I'm not saying that. Well, I'm not saying it's good because I don't think that's the best source of antioxidants. I'm just saying that's where most people get it.
No, but you sort of get a double whammy. You sort of get a win-win-win. I mean, coffee wakes you up, gets you going, and then, antioxidant value. So
I'm not really supposed to drink coffee anymore. I have a medical issue, but yeah, I have 1 cup of coffee every day.
Got to. I appreciate your loyalty to remain with the coffee club. You're not letting a doctor's advice steer you off of coffee. Good for you.
I tried to switch it out for green tea because that has less caffeine, more antioxidants. It's a little, it's got some things in it that are good too. But that stains your teeth. And my dentist knew that I had switched from coffee to tea.
Dang.
He's like, you're tea now, aren't you? I'm like, what? How did you know?
I'll be darned. I didn't look at all the things we're learning. I could make a tea switch, but yeah, your dentist knew. Oh man.
That just blew my mind. I was like, okay, no more tea.
Yeah. So you had a chat with Stan Blake. Stan Blake, a former legislator. He worked at the railroad man for many years. He's a little concerned that when railroads lay off people and replace people with machines or computers or AI, could be safety issues. After all, there are sun kinks out there. Explain what a sun kink is and why we're a little concerned about these layoffs in the railroad industry.
Yeah, so a sun kink is, heat from the sun basically heats up the track, and that can sometimes cause a little bit of warping. There are actually railroad trucks. You've seen them running up on the rails, a couple people in them. That's what they're doing is they're looking for flaws in the track, like sun kinks, pull aparts. Pull apart is when part of the track separates. Usually it happens at like a bolt or something,
Yeah, like that spike is pulling up off the tie or something.
Yeah. And so you have these people who are riding the rails looking for these things that can happen relatively quickly. One day they can be good, the next day they can be bad. And they cause train derailments. That's what caused the Bosler train derailment. I think, in looking at the Green River layoffs, what struck me is they're happening at a time of great change for the railroad industry, and they're part of a landscape of broader moves. The railroad sector has reduced workforce by like 30% over the last year or so, according to the congressional testimony I kind of picked through. And so lots fewer people on the railroad to inspect things, right? The Carmen and Green River, what do? One of their very important jobs is inspecting the inbound rail cars that are going to go across Wyoming. So they look for things like the flanges. Are the flanges that are holding these rail cars on the rails thick enough? They look at bearings. There's a whole checklist of safety things that they look at to make sure these rail cars are suitable, are going to stay on the track, don't need major repairs, and that kind of thing. So Stan's concern there is, we're just continually reducing workforce, continually reducing the human inspection factor. We're relying more and more on automated systems. Those are good. They're a good adjunct, to inspections, but he feels they're not ready for prime time. They're not ready to replace what humans do. They don't catch things before they are problems. They don't catch defects that will lead to problems. They catch things that have progressed to a point that they're dangerous. So, he questions the safety approach there, especially given, we have trains running through every town and just about every town in Wyoming, some of them through very busy business districts. When I looked at the congressional testimony about rail safety this year, there were hearings over some waivers, including a waiver that asked to reduce human inspections by 75%. And so those human eyeballs, that human judgment that can spot problems before they're defects, before automation would see them, that's getting reduced by 75%.
Or
So
the humanness that can see the difference between a natural occurring sun kink and maybe the work of a modern day hole in the wall gang that's looking to create a derailment to rob the train. Stan might be onto something. I wonder if this industry is just on the tip of the spear when we see jobs getting replaced by AI. This is not going to be the only incident moving forward.
Yeah, and it's hard to answer that, Jake, because like these layoffs are coming in dribs and drabs. They lay 15 people off here, 12 people off there. They never talk about how many they actually laid off. You just hear about it in the community. When as a reporter, when you get a hold of them, they give you quotes like, "Oh, we did this to increase the quote or enhance the quote fluidity of rail cars moving," and then and everyone got jobs across the system or offered jobs across the system, but you don't know how many of those people took those jobs, where they went, what they're doing now. It's very opaque right now. So it's hard to assess how many jobs are being lost to automation. When I look at the congressional testimony, though, as a sector, employment has dropped 30%. That's very significant amount of people to lose across the system. It's, it's not causation necessarily or correlation. You can't prove that, but you got to think that automation is playing a role there.
Renee Jean, also a pretty reliable source of the latest real estate deal to be had. You featured Triangle C, great ranch. I love this ranch. I've been there a bunch. I know the Garnicks, who once owned it and sold it to the horse trainer family that owns it now, but it looks like it's hitting the market again.
Yeah. This is another one of these legacy ranches with just all kinds of cowboy state history, and two slices of that history, I think. You've got the tie hack part of it. This was 1906. Picture this: 600,000 railroad ties floating down the Wind River, just by the thousands. They sent these ties down to Riverton to build out the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. That had reached Riverton in 1906. So 1906 is when the Triangle C Ranch's first buildings appeared. Those buildings are still part of the Triangle C. Some of those cabins and things that they built way back in the very early 1900s are still part of this ranch. And then when as the railroad builds out, headquarters keeps moving, right? So they moved to the Dunoir and left behind their buildings and sold it to someone who turned it into a new business that was coming along in the early 1900s, the Dude Ranch. So this is also one of the state's early dude ranches. It's not the earliest, it's not the oldest, but it is one of the early ones that sprang up. They're in the Shoshone National Forest, completely surrounded by the forest. There are no deeded acres with this ranch. You are buying equipment, buildings, a business, and leases. It's leased land.
Yeah, you have a lease. You have the right to operate your Dude Ranch business, to take rides in the national forest. That and the aspect of the ranch that I know of is I can't see it being repurposed. I don't see a multimillionaire saying, I want this as my mansion getaway. You would really probably have to want to run a Dude Ranch. It's perfectly set up for that.
Yeah. And it has been run for the last 8 years by a guy named Christopher Cox. He's a rather famous horse trainer in America. He's from Australia originally, but he lives in Texas now, and he has a ranch down there, the Diamond Double C Ranch. He does horsemanship clinics. He also has a popular television show on the RFD TV channel, which broadcasts to more than 40 million households. So, he's a very recognizable name in the horse industry. Triangle C has had a reputation the last 8 years, for its horseback riding adventures. They're unparalleled. But this Triangle C is suitable for much more than just horseback riding. It's a good base camp for any adventure you want to have in the outdoors. Fishing, swimming in the Wind River, hiking, side by sides, you name it. If you can do it in the Shoshone National Forest, you can do it from the Triangle C Ranch. You don't have to trailer your horses. You can just set out because you are surrounded by national forest land. And winter, it's got winter activities too, snowmobiling,
Yeah.
doing cross-country skiing, all of that is available at this location.
Right out your door. There are tons of things to do. Beautiful country. You're up there on Togety Pass between DuBois and Moran. The place is the property listed for just a shade under $5 million by Livewater. Broker Matt McMillan spoke to you, and I wonder, not that it matters in this story for the buyer, but I wonder to what degree Chris and Barb decide to sell now. I think they're just in another point of their life where just a property they want to walk away from at this point. They got other things to do. Chris has his career, doing the TV, doing his horse training. But this was also the ranch where we have a pending lawsuit over somebody who was injured coming off a horse where one of the wranglers bear sprayed the horse. I wonder if that factored in where you just want to say, I don't want to be in the Dude Ranch business anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. And, he still has his ranch down in Texas where he does his horsemanship clinics. So I don't know that was necessarily a factor. The real estate agent said the family feels like this is a chapter in their life that, they're ready to turn the page on. And they've had this experience with their kids that they wanted to have. They're ready to focus on some other business interests. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't assess that. They didn't get back to me. So it wasn't possible to really talk to them about that.
I think the $4.95 million is very fair, and maybe you can talk Matt down a little. But this property, this ranch is beautiful where it is. You can't recreate, as they say in real estate, location. The setting is just gorgeous. Triangle C comes with all that history, all that beauty, and where it is, it's just fantastic. And I'm sure the books, if you open the books, will show you that how fast you can make your money back in hosting guests, dude ranching, or whether you want to snowmobile them. There's a lot of things to do up there.
Yeah, Matt told me that it's been a very profitable business there in Wyoming. So yeah, I think. I don't, he didn't go into how profitable. He just said it's very profitable. So,
well, once again, you and I, Renee, let's pool our money. We got to go in on another piece of real estate. Let's get on it.
I feel like we're going to need more than just us.
I know it. Have a great weekend, Renee.
I'll play the lottery this weekend. Maybe I'll win.
Hit it. Cowboy State Daily. Renee Jean pops in, and we got to clear the field. It's time for Ask Gabby coming up next. to the Teton Range, Cheyenne to Sheridan, Rawlins to Ralston, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show covers the state like no other radio show or podcast. We love Lovell. We're eager to share the stories of Story Will Crow About Crowheart and Yodel Over Yoder. Whether you make your home in Sweetwater, Chugwater, Powder River, or Green River, the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show will make you feel right at home. Jeffrey City, Atlantic City, we see you. Little America, Big Piney, you're on our radar. Howdy, Wapiti, Meeteetse, Shoshone, Ten Sleep, good morning. Welcome, Torrington, Riverton, Wheatland, Lusk, Lingle, Lander, Timber, Casey, Kerwin, Moorcroft, Mountain View, Moose, Fort Bridger, Fort Laramie, Fort Washington, Hannah, Hudson, Hewlett, Dayton, Daniel, and DuBois. We are east of Weston, west of Midwest, north of Newcastle, and south of Sundance. Border to border, we love Wyoming and every one of its communities, bar none.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming. With a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven, Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path. So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
All right, look at you taking the stairs. Who are you?
We're your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early when it's more curable. Good to know. Well, I gotta go somewhere.
So do we.
Listen to your lungs. Get a routine screening that could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Yeah, we're getting after it. Ask Abby. This is rocking, huh?
Rocking and rolling.
Hey, what are you sipping there? Because our question of the day is whether you're a coffee drinker or no.
Yes.
Yes. Even with your strict dietary constraints.
I'm not strict.
You're the one who's never eaten a cheeseburger at McDonald's. Like, come on.
I went to McDonald's this week.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I went to meet one of my former foster kiddos there, and we were gonna go to a park, and her mom said, let's hit the McDonald's play place because it was raining and windy and stuff. And I thought, okay, today could be my day for a Big Mac, but I just got French fries instead.
Yeah, so. You still didn't cross that line. Okay, well.
But you know, when you go to McDonald's now, you don't even, you go touch a screen.
Yeah, which I don't mind.
I felt like I was in a different world.
Yeah,
but they still have the same trays. They still have the same brown trays.
Yeah.
Those things could survive like an atomic bomb, I think.
Well,
are you allowed to say bomb on TV?
Our show is being monitored by the FCC. Yeah, like Jimmy Kimmel, we're going to be kicked off the air for saying bomb. The CIA just emailed me and said, "Who is Abby and where can we find her?"
Yeah. We don't know. She's elusive.
Good for you at the Golden Arches, visiting a McDee's, had the fries, signature. You're right. Yep. It's become all kiosk. They want to reduce the interaction you have with actual people. They're weaning us towards this AI. There's going to be no people pretty soon.
Yeah, that's going to be. Yeah, that's. Yeah, and I even called my friend, one of my great friends, Nick Meeker. He loves McDonald's. He loves it, and I called him and I said, "What should I get?"
Yeah.
And it was like a 30-minute phone call. And,
he went off. He went up and down the menu, right?
Yeah, I was like, dude, you are the only person I know that admittedly loves McDonald's. He's very vocal about it. And so I said, what should I get? And he told me to ask for fresh fries. Well, you can't ask for fresh fries because you don't talk to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Here's my tip. I like McDonald's. I would stop short of love, but I like McDonald's, and I will eat McDonald's. To make sure you get a hamburger that's pretty fresh and hot, you got to make a special order. Like, remember BK used to say, make it your way. You got a special, so you just say, I don't want pickles, or extra something on the kiosk. You can, so alter your sandwich and you're guaranteed to get one fresh off the grill. My tip to you. But at the fry aspect is a big gamble. You're right. Those fries could be sitting there for a while. How do you make sure you get the fresh fries other than to be that
you'll have to go through the drive-through. That's the only way you can talk to somebody.
Yeah, and then you got to be that Karen that says, I want the fries, I want fresh fries. Right.
Which is really not, I'm not too Karen-y, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I was weirded out by the whole kiosk computer thing. I was like, what are we doing? I looked so stupid in front of these two little kids.
Where am I? Well, you're going to have to go fast food more often. That's all I can tell you.
I guess, but
I'm going to get my buzzer ready, although it's not going to be a kind of buzzer day because we're doing something different.
I don't like change, Jake.
I know, me neither. We're going to do, instead of Ask Abby, we're going to do Dear Abby. Everybody knows Dear Abby, the columnist, long time, because she's been doing her thing since 1991. We're going to ask you actual Dear Abby questions and see how your answer stacks up to hers. See if you can if you can help solve people's problems.
I am not qualified for this.
Definitely not.
This
is what's going to make it so great. You're the last person qualified to give out advice on.
Yeah, and my advice is always the same. Go read your Bible. The answers are there, my man. My sister in Christ. That's it.
Yes, praise God. I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. But we're only going to allow one of those. That'll be your mulligan. Once when you're stumped, you can say, go to the Bible. And then, okay. Dear Abby, we host dinner parties in our home with dear friends regularly. These dear friends always bring their little dog. The dog is annoying. The dog sits on the lap of the people while we're having dinner. And the dog is, how do we gently tell them that we don't really like the dog?
You just tell them. You just say, we're having an adult human party only. And then they're, like when people get married and they're like, no kids.
Oh.
Kid free. This is a dog free dinner.
So you just come right out with it. Like, hey, we love having you over, but Fifi, no, we're going to stop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you just stop inviting the person altogether.
Those were the two options the actual Abby proposed. Either no more dinner invites, let them wonder why, or
It's not you, it's your dog.
yeah, it's not you, it's the dog. Or be confrontational. Yeah, or just come right out with it and say, yeah, we're not thrilled with the dog. Funny.
Yeah, I think honesty is always the best way to go about it. But then also, sometimes you just gotta check yourself and be like, is the dog that annoying? Are we being, can we change our heart a little bit? Dog is so loved by its owners and they just take it everywhere. And yes, it annoys us, but it's an hour of our evening and we can just still be kind,
That is bonus useful advice can be applied in almost every scenario today. Good observation, Abby. Sometimes we got to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. How important is this really? Oh, good. Extra credit. Speaking of weddings and the wedding invite, dear Abby, I have a 25-year-old niece called Meadow. She embraces the hippie lifestyle. She's kind and sweet, loves everybody, but she's a hippie. She's heavily tattooed, has several facial piercings, and thick underarm hair. My son, who is getting married, is the opposite. He's a business world, real button-down, tight suit and tie kind of guy. Meadow has already been invited to the wedding, but my son is afraid that she may cause disruptions with what she chooses to wear. He may have to defend her. Can we disinvite her? Or should we? No.
Absolutely not. Jeez.
She is blood relative. She is a niece.
No, you don't uninvite people ever.
That's what the other Abby said. Yes, too late to disinvite. You're going to have to take Meadow with the good and the bad. Okay. Here's a relationship advice one. You are absolutely the perfect person to be giving relationship advice. Dear Abby, I've been going out with a man 9 years younger than I am. He's a musician, plays bass guitar in several bands. I'm retired. I love going out with him. I love being with him. Here's the problem. He never has any money. He's a musician. He's always struggling to pay the bills. I have invested in the relationship. I have to pay for everything. I think he's cheap, and I feel sorry for him. I think he needs to grow up and do something other than, trying to be the next great bass player. Am I wrong? Do I need to move on in this relationship or?
Well, that's interesting. I think you just kind of have to, if that's what's important to you in a relationship, then I guess. But you're supposed to kind of like love people unconditionally. But if that's like something, I guess that's, super important to you, financial security, then yeah, go find a billionaire in Jackson.
I'm not sure whether to buzz or not. Let's make it less theoretical, more actual for you, Abby. You're at dinner with your boyfriend, again, many times, and he pulls the old routine, I'm going to get this, and he reaches for the wallet, but nothing ever comes out. Boyfriend's still around? Or is it?
Well, yeah, but I think because if maybe that person provides in other ways, like maybe they're not always the one to pay for dinner, but they're always the one to help out around the house or show acts of service in other ways.
No.
I'm not very good at relationships.
You better tell Cheapo to get a job and start paying his way. No, I don't know. You're right. That one has no real answer. Okay.
What did the other Abby say?
The other Abby, yeah, she said similar, like re-examine the reasons why you're with him. Are they still important? Yeah, she was wishy-washy like you. Okay.
It's hard to give relationship advice to somebody that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. This one from an actual Dear Abby, also, all the way back to her first year when she first debuted, 1991. Let me take you back.
I was 6.
Oh, wow. You were 6. Wait, now I can do some math, figure out how old. There's no way. You're like 25 years old, aren't you? That's what it would be my guess. 25, 26?
No, Jake, I'm 40. I've told you this 100 times.
No, I refuse to. Wrong. Abby doesn't even know the correct age of herself. Dear Abby. Dear Abby, I invited my sister-in-law over for dinner. Here we go again with the dinner invite. And the dog. She came and brought her dog. After dinner, she took a plate of leftovers, set it on the floor, and let her dog lick the plate clean. I was appalled. But my sister-in-law says, no, the dog's saliva is actually very clean and antiseptic. We let our dog lick all the plates and dishes and stuff and all the china before then we also clean it. Is this going too far with the dog licking the bowl? Is you okay with that? You're a dog lover.
Yeah, I mean, I like dog. I don't like all dogs. Just like I don't like, well, actually, I don't really like any cats except for your cat, of course.
Right.
But I think that it's not really, I don't, why'd you waste the time to even write that down? Like if you're that concerned, just say, hey, here's a paper plate for next time. Like,
okay, yeah.
If it weirds you out, you're allowed to be weirded out by it. Sure, I guess, if that's not something that you do and it's not your dog. But just be like, hey, I'm so happy that you brought your dog and I love him, but I do get weirded out by the plate. Here's a paper one for next time. Right?
I think if newspapers syndication is looking for a modern day next Dear Abby, you're it, Abby. You bring a real common sense to your I think you are missed your calling here. You are Dear Abby. One last one. Dear Abby, I'm irritated by my neighbors. Full stop. Most Dear Abby letters begin with this. I'm irritated by fill in the blank. I don't know quite how to approach this, but we live in a quiet neighborhood. We have new next door neighbors moved in a couple of years ago. After they moved in, the first thing they did was hang a big wind chime on their front porch. Not your average wind chime. These chimes are at least 5 feet long. And this wind chime, I have to say, because we live in a windy area, rings a lot and it rings very loud. We don't know how to broach it. Should we, A, just move, B, close the windows, or C, confront the neighbors and say, hey, with the wind chime?
That is kind of a good one. It's kind of like when someone's dog's barking all day.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think this is one of those things where just having a conversation might be the best solution. I mean, moving is always easy too, but you might move into somebody with a neighborhood with a barking dog, which to me is way worse than a wind chime.
Right. Careful. Careful what you move out of and into.
Yeah. Because I do think, I don't even have to elaborate. Way to go.
Oh yeah, it's already a winner. We will informed the signee of the letter to Dear Abby, disturbed in Rhode Island. We will inform them that you suggest, just paying a visit. Here's we baked you this nice apple pie. Welcome to the neighborhood. And hey, the chimes, really? Did they have smaller ones at the store when you went shopping for these? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, if they respond with like, you know what, too bad we like our wind chime, move, then maybe you start looking for a new house. I don't know.
And you build a bigger fence, a taller fence maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Abby, we got to rock. Ernie Marsh has finally figured out his internets, and we're going to get him on.
Okay, have fun with Ernie.
Thank you. You have a great weekend. Ask Abby, which was Dear Abby this time around. She did really well. We'll be right back with Ernie.
Wyoming is the cowboy state. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyo Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
Might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
Cowboy State Daily show with Jake. It's a Thursday, and we're running towards the finish line here. Almost wrapped up with the show. Ernie Marsh is with us on a repeat appearance. The first time around, internet problems. But Ernie, an award-winning silversmith, simply whipped out his blowtorch and welder, whatever else, and he rebuilt the internet, probably. And it's prettier than it was. That's for sure. This is an award-winning artist, and big congrats, Ernie. I mean, National Heritage Fellowship Award, they don't give that out to just anybody. A handful of people from Wyoming have ever won this. Pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm the fifth guy, I think, to
fifth person. Yeah.
Well, that is pretty neat. Secret to your success. I love the story that you can find in the Cowboy State Daily. Learn more about Lovell's Ernie Marsh. But the secret to his success, Ernie, we have him right here. He can tell us what it is. But you did share with Cowboy State Daily that, don't worry about the money of it, the recognition, the reward, just whatever it is that needs done. Commit to it and do it. And that's why you've got over 150 pieces completed. It sounds simple, but it's probably really hard to carry through. Just do what needs done and see it through, huh, Ernie?
Oh, sure. Yeah, just, if you enjoy the process of building, just stick with that, and everything else will take care of itself. You just to keep improving as time goes on.
Now, your recognition as what would you call yourself? Because I know some people back in the day, and we're going to talk about some of the legends like Billy Clapper, referred to themselves as a bit maker, a spur maker, or a silversmith. Like, you do it all. What would you call yourself? Silversmith?
Well, I'm a bit and spur maker primarily, and a Western silversmith. Yeah, pretty much. Bit and spur making has been my main gig for the last 35 years. But I do a lot of silver work.
Yeah,
a lot of silver work is required in building ornate bridle bits and spurs. So,
and I do want to talk about the ornate and really detailed stuff. When I see cowboys, particularly vaqueros, a lot of Mexican vaqueros love to make sure they are flashing. They like the idea of looking flashy. When you're designing stuff, is it with the idea that from a distance, watching that cowboy ride by, wow, you can see from a distance those spurs, that silver work on his saddle? Or would you rather someone gets real, and the closer they get, the more they discover? They're like, holy cow, look what he put in the detail of this. Or is it both, Ernie?
It's both. It starts out with a contrast. I mean, keep in mind that cowboy out on the desert, mostly he only sees his stuff in the shadow on the ground, right?
Yeah.
There's not a fan club out there watching it. But yeah, I want other people to notice the contrast in the work first, just things to pique their interest, and then more detail within the piece if they want to have a closer look at it.
Well, a guy like Ernie Marsh appeals to the vain aspect of a cowboy who may pull up to a watering hole, and as his horse drinks, he can finally get a reflection and say, "Dang, I look good in these Ernie Marsh spurs." Or a judge who's judging things, he could take out his little microscope, or his little, what do you call him? His magnifying glass, and say, look at the intricate work here. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think it all starts out, working cowboys. You want something just a little bit cooler than what your buddy's got, and so it just kind of goes from there to pretty soon. And the priorities, you might drive a 1976 pickup truck, but you got your priorities is in your saddle and your bridles and your horses and your gear,
Absolutely. When I talked to Jackie Dorothy, who wrote this story the other day, and I told her the same thing. I said, cowboys they'll spend, a month's pay on some stuff and then let other things go. And they will search hard, wide and far and look for, especially when it comes to spurs and something different, something unique, something expensive. You're right. And in fact, you see it in that one episode. If you ever watched Yellowstone, they got a lot of things right in that. And you'll see an episode of that where you saw cowboys seek out a legendary spur maker and bit maker, Billy Clapper. He was a real dude, played himself, a West Texas legend spur maker. And that is so true, right? Like cowboys will find you out wherever you are.
Oh, yeah. I knew Billy.
Yeah.
Spoke to him several times. He was a big dog in my business, and but that's just it. You don't have to have really cool gear to be a cowboy, to be a good cowboy, but most often a good cowboy usually will eventually,
Ernie. Yep.
Yeah.
Ernie Marsh joins the ranks of other Western creators like saddle makers Don King, Dale Harwood, and we mentioned Billy Clapper. The Billy Clapper of Nevada, Idaho, sort of the Mountain West, is Elmer Miller, a legend in his own right, and you learned a lot from Elmer Miller. You also share the same initials, by the way, Ernie, if you didn't figure that out.
Yeah, I went to his school in 1990 in Nampa, Idaho.
Yeah.
And then he actually won this award in 1993. He passed away before he could go to DC and obtain the honor, but that just makes it all the more special to me, for sure.
Yeah, and you could probably go ahead and sign your pieces with EM, and it doesn't matter if it's an Ernie Marsh or an Elmer Miller. It's an instant classic. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've
like
actually got one piece at home with both of our signatures in it.
Oh, there you go.
I made it at his shop, and I wanted him to engrave it for me. And he said, "Well, do I get to put my name in it?" And I said, "Yeah, put it in there on the other side." And yeah, that's just one piece that I have in my collection.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't all come to you naturally. If you were to look at a pair of Ernie Marsh spurs from way back when he was an 8th grade shop class, I don't know if you'd paid top dollar for that. You had to, how much of it were just inspired to do it? You took to it naturally. And how much did you have to go to school and learn? How do I do this?
Well, I had to learn how to, move metal.
Yeah.
Basically what a pair of good spurs should look like. That's something you should know before you go to building them. And then how to move metal and fabricate and engrave and design. All that goes into the mix, for the final product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also attended a NRA sponsored firearms engraving course as well. So.
Oh yeah.
It's just a little supplement there. And that's when things took off for me, when I started to incorporate that work into the bits and spurs.
Well, now you're recognized, you're award winning, you've done all you need to do. Is it time to so-called hang up your spurs? What's left for Ernie Marsh to accomplish?
Well, I enjoy sharing the trade, teaching the trade. I've been on the road here for a couple of weeks. Back to DC for the ceremony, and then I went to Gainesville, Texas for the last few days, put on a little engraving class for some folks down there, and now I'm back in Oklahoma City at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for our 26th annual Traditional Cowboy Arts Association exhibit and sale. And so we've got 55 pieces in this sale. The preview's tomorrow. The sale is Saturday night. They'll have a sale and a banquet, but it's online if somebody wants to look at the work through the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum site,
Okay, very good. And when you're not busy doing all this, where do we find you? Right here home in Wyoming? You still in Lovell?
I'm in Lovell, between Lovell and Gray Bull.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tucked away, but I've got work represented there in Cody at Mercury Leather.
Yeah.
Involved with the Western Hands Gallery. Do engraving classes there at Western Hands Gallery in Cody. And yeah. And I'm going to pursue the education aspect of it. I've got a new project going where we just bought an acreage down in Graybull. We're going to break some ground on that, and I want to make a studio, Bighorn Western Trade Studio, and I'm going to have guest teachers there, but that's down the road a ways. That's just our dream for now. And I've acquired the property, but we're going to get started on that. Probably a couple of years down the road, we'll have a lot of fun with some rawhide braiding, blacksmithing, leather working, bit and spur making, and engraving. I think it'll be fun.
I like that. That's the pay it forward. You become the mentor to the next Elmer Miller, the next Ernie Marsh. Just keep moving it along. I like that. We're talking Ernie Marsh out of Lovell, Wyoming, one of only 5 Wyomingites to win the National Heritage Fellowship Award. That's some prestigious stuff, and his work will show you why. Go check it out on the interwebs. Ernie, thanks for spending time with us. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend. Ernie Marsh. Read more about him and the Jackie Dorothy story. Pretty cool. Silversmith spur and bit maker. Fascinating stuff. Great old Western tradition carried on. That's going to do it for us. We're just about out of time on the show today. We'll see you again we'll see you again tomorrow, same time, on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. For now, everybody have a great Thursday. Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.